joining us by phone. All right, welcome everybody. We will go ahead and get started. I'm Mel Barnes, I'm the Governor's Chief Legal Counsel, and I will introduce our other pardon board members shortly here. First, I just want to let you know that this hearing is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. Please mute yourselves and keep your video off until it is your turn to be called up to speak to the board. If you're an applicant, that'll let us focus on the person who is talking and make sure that we're optimizing our Zoom screens here. Applicants, if you do run into IT issues, don't worry, someone from the staff will give you a call and we'll get it sorted out, and we'll just move you to the board queue or to the applicant queue when you're ready and everything's working for you. So as long as we can get it sorted out today, we'll still hear from you. We will generally call people to speak in the order that is listed in the open meetings notice. Just so you know the kind of time blocks, we won't start before that 10 o'clock time if you're listed in that group, to make sure that we're complying with open meeting notice. Same with folks who are in the hearing after lunch. So I'm going to introduce our board members, and then we'll tell you a little bit about what we'd like to hear from you when we call you up to share your story. So as I mentioned, I'm Mel Barnes, I'm the Governor's Chief Legal Counsel. With us today from the Pardon Board are board members Noble Ray, who served as the Madison Police Department Chief of Police from 2004 to 2013 after a long career with that department. Noble Ray also led the U.S. Justice Department's Policing Practices and Accountability Initiative and currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the nation and the world. Board member Cindy O'Donnell served as the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as Division Administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. Board member Reverend John McVicker Sr. is the founding pastor of Christ the Baptist Church in Milwaukee. He additionally serves as a board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. Judge Jeff Kremers is Attorney General Josh Call's nominee to this board. He served as the Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge for 26 years, serving as Chief Judge for 7 of those years, and retired in 2018. Reverend Jerry Hancock is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. I believe those are all our board members today. Did I miss anyone? No, great. Okay. So applicants, as I mentioned, we'll just ask you to keep your camera off and yourself muted until it is your time to share your story with the board. Once we call you up, you'll have about 5 minutes to share your story and answer the questions that we sent you in advance of the meeting. As a reminder, that'll be asking you for a brief summary of your offenses, how your sentence went, what you've done since, a brief summary of community involvement, employment, and how things have changed in your life, and then a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon today. We'd like to hear from you directly, really telling us your story, and then the board may or may not have questions at the end of your statement. Don't read anything into it either way. Sometimes all of our questions are answered based on your application materials alone. Sometimes we do have follow-up for you. And then once the board is done asking you questions, you're welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing. You don't have to hang out or anything. You'll be hearing follow-up from our office in about a month or two regarding the status of your pardon application. You won't hear whether you've been granted or denied on the Zoom today. Once everyone is heard, the board will go into a closed session meeting to discuss whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present for your application to be forwarded to the governor. The governor will then either accept or reject that application. And again, you'll be notified in about a month or two of the status. If you do have any questions, of course, in the meantime, you're always welcome to reach out to the office. All right, so I will call folks up in the order that was listed on the meeting agenda in order to share their story. And we'll get started with Mr. Timothy Jefferson, if you're in the Zoom. I'm looking, I do not see Mr. Jefferson. Mr. Jefferson, if you're here, please wave or say something. Oh, there we are. Mr. Jefferson, if you could unmute yourself. And I think we have one other applicant on video. If you're able to turn off your video, if you're not Mr. Jefferson, that'll allow us to focus on him. Thank you. All right, Mr. Jefferson. Oh, we can't hear you. You look like you're unmuted. You're also joined by phone. Let's see. You might need to unmute your phone separately.
To unmute your phones, if you're on Zoom, I believe it's *6.
Is that working for you, Mr. Jefferson? Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have Destiny reach out to you and see if she can help you troubleshoot that. And we'll come back to you once she lets me know that we should be able to hear you.
Are you doing *6 on your phone?
I think it worked that time.
Oh, hey, all right. We've got you with a bit of an echo though. So can you, let's see. Okay, try speaking for us.
I tried with the laptop and the speaker portion didn't work, so I just called in as a backup.
Got it. Okay, I think this is working now. We had a bit of an echo for a minute, but that sounded better. All right. So Mr. Jefferson, would you please start by giving us a brief summary of your offenses, how your sentence went, and then turn to what you've done since the completion of your sentence, your community involvement, and why you're seeking a pardon today?
My offenses were maintaining the drug plate, party to a crime. The other offense was related to that, the felony bail jumping for violating that the conditions of that bail. Trying to remember the other one. I believe one of them was possession of THC.
Mr. Jefferson, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're very quiet all of a sudden. Could you maybe just move closer to the phone?
Okay. I think when I pulled it closer, when it started to make noise. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So maintaining the drug plate, party to a crime, felony bail jumping, possession of THC. It was second or subsequent, and if I'm not mistaken, that is it for the charges, for the convictions. Since then, I was released in 2003. I obtained my GED. After that, in 2005, I obtained an associate in engineering.
Mr. Jefferson, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you. Could you maybe try muting your laptop speakers? We're getting an echo again.
the laptop is muted. They give me the option to unmute the laptop.
No, sorry, can you turn off the sound on your speaker so that it's not coming out? I think you should be able to hear us through just your phone.
Okay. Is that a little better?
Yes.
Okay. So in 2005, I obtained my associates in engineering. I also was working for Milwaukee County Parks. 2 years after that, I continued to obtain my bachelor's in engineering, electronics engineering. And 2011, I started working for GE. So at that point, I stopped working for the parks. So I had maybe 6 years with the Milwaukee County Parks. Been working for GE since 2013. 2 years ago, I was offered an electrician apprenticeship. So I took advantage of that. So I've been doing that for the last 2 years. I have 2 years to go. As far as community involvement, I help more at churches, food pantries. Also, I am a GE volunteer. So whatever they have going on, I usually, lend a hand. Early August, we're always in elementary schools, painting and, just doing something to help for the upcoming school year. I guess personally, I don't know, I take pride in my community as far as I'll gather my kids, we'll pick up trash, we'll try to, encourage other, kids to help out. Maybe there's an incentive on my part, but I guess, everything helps, if I give them $5 or whatever, I think it's worth it. I think every little bit counts. So I try to do, whatever I can, whenever I can. So I look at it that way. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm sorry. Well, there was a third one.
Why you're seeking a pardon today and why you think the governor should grant you one.
Okay, I'm seeking a pardon. Basically, some of the government jobs I apply to, the record is the first thing they look at. And as a electrician, I definitely can move up the ladder in that field. Previously, with my engineering degrees, it was always a problem in the hospital area, as far as healthcare, working on biomedical engineering equipment or traveling in the field. It's always been a bonded issue or a security issue. Even though the charges aren't violent, it's still a felony. So of course it's still very, very serious. So employers do look at that regardless of the time that's elapsed since then. So it definitely limits my opportunities as far as employment. That would be my number one reason I am seeking a pardon from the governor. And I think that over the 20 plus years, I've done substantial amount personally, education wise, just to improve myself, just to, put the bad decisions behind me. I've been, drug and alcohol free for 10 plus years, just making a change to do better, just seeing, the things I've done as a youth and just look at them as, how silly and just irresponsible they were. Just, just pushes me to do better. So the primary reason is my career. Probably have 20 more years to work. So I definitely like to capitalize on the better opportunities that I have out there. My degrees are fine. My electrical journeyman's card will be wonderful, but the opportunities for either government employment or working in the field in the hospital healthcare area will definitely go a long way. So that is my primary reason for seeking a pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. We're going to turn it over to questions from other board members, but before I call on folks, I have just one for you. In your background check, there's an arrest before these offenses for possession of a dangerous weapon from 1999. It looks like it was dismissed, but could you tell us a little bit about what was happening there?
That was adjudicated as a juvenile, and so it was when I was 17, and I believe I turned 18 during the process. I remember I was actually 18 in the detention center. So I'm not sure why it's on my adult record. I have no idea, but I do remember that, like vividly. I remember that was, I'm not sure where I got that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think of the details without, So yeah, that was a juvenile offense, and it just carried over until I was an adult. If that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember anything about the circumstances that led to your arrest? What was happening? I know it was a very long time ago. It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I was trying to think of, some details or something to, to go with it. But I'm sorry. I just remember, that I was 18 and everyone was wondering why I was in the detention center at 18. That part I do remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember the other details.
That's okay. It was a long time ago. I understand that. So I'll turn it over to my other board members. Does anyone have questions for Mr. Jefferson? Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Jefferson. Congratulations on all you've accomplished education-wise and employment-wise. Part of the application, it's not required, but it's encouraged to submit letters of support, and you did not submit any. Can you tell us why not?
I was thinking hard about like who could I have to submit them. Like my employer would be number one. They've known me for, over a decade. I hate to say that I'm, I guess, ashamed of my past, and I guess by asking them who'd be the best recommendation, I kind of open myself up to, what I've done. And in a sense, I don't know if that it would help with the parting board, but, would it hurt with my employer? So I think that's what I struggle with, that quite a bit, on whether to seek that recommendation from my employer. And that's mainly, the dilemma that I was unable to, I didn't want to, I don't know. I didn't want to hurt any relationship that my employer and myself have.
Yeah. That's understandable. What about family and friends? You didn't think of anyone there?
No, I was thinking more professional.
Okay, that's fine. It's not required. I'm just curious what your thought process was when you were completing the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Jefferson? All right, seeing none. Mr. Jefferson, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us this morning and joining us here by Zoom. As I mentioned, we'll get back to you in about a month or two. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the office in the meantime, and you're free to go about your day.
Thank you.
Our next applicant that we'll hear from is Mr. Mark Stencil. I do believe I saw Mr. Stencil on the Zoom. There we go. Welcome, Mr. Stencil. We'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, my name is Mark Stencil. I embezzled money back in August of 1996 through April of 1998 from the Fire Inspectors Association. I was sentenced on March of 2019, excuse me, 1999 by Judge Erickson. And we came to a plea agreement where I would pay back $37,062.29. I did 500 hours of community service, and I did all that. I came back to Jesus in 2011. Right now, I'm sitting at my church talking to you, Osceola Community Church, where I'm a trustee, and I've been a trustee for over 5 years here. I actually take care of this building. I do a lot of community service around here. We do Shine, which is to reach out to the St. Croix Valley here. We have, we're called the Second Chance Church, where we actually have felons here, including me, where we do community service with them. And we actually work with the Justice Center, where we take people, instead of putting them in jail, we work with them, and especially addicts, where we actually work with them and find them jobs and stuff. And then instead of going to jail, they're working, and they go up to the judge about every other week, and they have to do testing and stuff. And as long as they're kept clean and stuff, it works out pretty good. And we have classes here with them and stuff, and so we're pretty busy with them. I'm 100% disabled out of the service. I worked for Andersen Windows for 30 years. And well, it's been 24 years since I did my felony. And I can vote, I can sit on a jury, but I'd like to be pardoned the rest of the way. I'd like to be able to sit on my board at my village, you know, get voted in, which I can't do right now. I'd like to go skeet shooting with the fellow members of my church, which I can't do because I can't hold a gun. But, you know, it wasn't a violent crime. And I did make a mistake at the first hearing I was at when I said that association got money from the state, and that was a mistake. They do not get any money from the state. All their money comes from the dues and their conferences and their trinkets that they sell. So I did make a mistake at my first hearing, and I think that's what that might have kind of tipped it, where I didn't get pardoned the first time around. But I'm 69, going on 69 years old, and I love Jesus, and I do anything I can, you know, to help the felons around here, and I just love what I'm doing right now. And that's what I do. I belong to the American Legion, and I just became the commander of Post 143 up in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. And I just love what I'm doing. And that's what I got right now.
Thank you, Mr. Sensel. Questions from board members? Judge.
Good morning, sir. If I understand correctly, you embezzled this money using your term, this 37,000, because you were in debt. Is that
I
right?
was.
Okay. So I also note that you paid back the $37,000 in restitution. How were you able to accomplish that?
I took it out of my stocks from Anderson Windows.
The retirement account, you mean?
Yes.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Sensel.
Good morning.
So as you know, you were denied in February of 2020. And in this application, all of your letters of support are the ones you initially submitted. So I'm just trying to understand, what have you done since that denial to today's date that would change this board's opinion?
I just kept on working towards, well, I think the one thing that I did wrong at the first thing was I told the board that the association got money from the state, and that was the wrong thing. And I think that was part of,
Right.
might have been part of the decision. I keep on trying to improve myself. I've been taking college courses through the American Legion to improve myself, you know, and I have 14 grandkids that, you know, I just love. And I just keep on improving myself. You know, I do a lot of community service. I take people to doctor appointments, and, you know, I'm always on the move. Like after this meeting, I have to go pick up somebody and take them to the doctor. So, you know.
Okay, thank you.
I just keep on doing stuff, you know. I'm always busy. I'm never home. That's what my wife says. My wife says, "Are you going to be home today?" Yeah, probably about 2 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Other board members, questions? None? All right. Mr. Sensel, thank you very much for joining us today and for telling us about your experience. As I mentioned, you don't have to hang out on the Zoom. You're welcome to move on to your next thing, and please feel free to reach out to my office if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is Mr. Thomas Mukunda. Mr. Mukunda, are you on the Zoom? I do not see Mr. Mukunda unless he's on the phone. All right, we will come back to Mr. Mukunda. Next up is Mr. Green. Mr. Green, are you on the Zoom? Mr. Green? No, all right.
Well, I'm here. 1 second.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Oh, thanks, Mr. Green. Now we can see you. All right. We'll turn it over to you, Mr. Green.
How you doing? Well, I was charged with party to a crime of robbery back in 2011. Pretty much wrong place, wrong time, helping out a friend. I've took full responsibility for my actions in this crime. Since the crime, I've maintained employment. I was released in 2012. Have maintained employment since. I've entered into a program which is for first-time offenders to talk to other first-time offenders, juvenile, to try to help them and steer them to a better path. That was through the governor here in Milwaukee, the governor's board here in Milwaukee, of the Peacekeepers program. I was married. I got married, got divorced. Unfortunately, I lost my fiance through a car accident not too long ago. I've tried to do more within the church that I'm involved in now with talking to the younger kids. As we all know, here in Milwaukee, we have a huge problem with car thefts and young teens at risk. So I just try my best to just try to talk to them coming from where they come from. Hopefully they can relate to me more. Basically letting them know like prison and jail is not where you want to be. You have multiple personalities around. You have multiple people that does not mean good to you. So I'm just basically giving them my experience to try to help them to lead them to a better path. Question 2 was, what have I been doing since the release? Pretty much being a better father. I've bounced around the city a lot, from Milwaukee, Chicago, Minnesota, just trying to find another place where I can call home, better for my children. Pretty much trying to stay focused and just maintain a positive life, really. I did take up barbering. Well, I've always been a barber. I'm now enrolled in barber school now to try to get licensed. As far as the pardon, why I want a pardon, it's honest. I want to say that it holds me back, but it do limit me to certain employment, certain things I do apply for because of a felony, regardless of how long it's been, the nature of the crime. A lot of employers don't kind of call it back, or because of the felony, they'll let me know, due to this felony, we can't offer you employment here. And honestly, like I said, it was a mistake, something I did years ago. I have not been arrested since. Have not had any crimes or anything since. So I definitely beat the statistics of being a repeated offender, anything of that nature, pretty much. So me getting a pardon would definitely help me and my family out a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Questions from board members? Judge.
Good morning, Mr. Green.
How are you?
Probably heard this question already this morning for another applicant, but letters of support are not required, but they are encouraged with the application. You didn't submit any letters of support. Can you tell me what your thinking was there, or why you didn't get any letters of support?
There was no reason behind it, honestly. Yeah, I really don't have a reason. I definitely could send those in. I definitely have a very, very huge support system behind me as far as employment, as far as personal family members and professions. So I definitely have a support system behind me. Why I did not submit them? There's no answer for that. Just did not send them in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Green. So in your application, your description of the offense, you say you were offered gas money to take this person. I waited outside. I was under the assumption that he knew the people at this residence. Once the boyfriend came out, I drove off with no knowledge that this had occurred.
Yes,
But the criminal complaint gives a very different version of that. In fact, what you said at the time when you were interviewed by the detective, you said that you followed this woman in a red sports car. So you knew you were following somebody, and that when the person came back,
That would be like two different incidents, I believe. The car that was followed that night wasn't the car that I was told were the victim. I was parked around the corner from wherever the victim was actually at. So I never seen the victim house. I never seen where the victim parked or anything. I was parked around the corner. So I was told that, hey, run me over here due to my sister's boyfriend. That's what the person is. Hey, run me over here. I'll give you $20 in gas. So as we're driving, yes, we're behind a red car. I'm not sure if that's the person who was the intentional victim because I parked around the corner.
but then when the person returned, your sister's boyfriend, whoever it was, when they returned to the car, they told you that all they got was a phone from the person and that you could have it. So at that point,
No, never got a phone. The phone was found in the vehicle, my vehicle, the next day. I never said he given me the phone.
that's what you told the detective at the time you were interviewed.
Nah, that definitely couldn't be right because, like I said, the phone was found in my vehicle the next day, and that's how I'm being brought into the whole entire crime because the phone was in my possession. I made a phone call off of the phone, not knowing that this is the phone that came from a robbery.
Okay. I'm reading the criminal complaint, and I'm trying to figure out, because one of the things that we really expect here is transparency and acceptance of responsibility for whatever happens. So when I see a criminal complaint and at the time this happened, this is what's purported to be your statement, and it doesn't match what you're telling the board, that, I don't know how to resolve that.
Like I say, I take my responsibility in as me being there or my involvement as, like I said, me being basically a getaway driver. My knowledge in going to it was, hey, I'm about to go get some money from somebody who owed me some money. I'll pay you $20 in gas. At the time, like I said, I'm living with my sister. This is her boyfriend. I'm not too much thinking nothing of it. I want to say probably 9-10 o'clock that night. I'm not sure around the time, it was so long ago. But yeah, like I say, my involvement was definitely, I took him from the place wherever he robbed the victim. We left there and went home. I was paying my gas money, went to sleep that night, went to work the next day.
Is it fair to say that you knew
I can't hear
something?
you.
Is it fair to say that you knew something illegal happened?
Speak.
Is it fair to say that you knew that something illegal happened during that evening?
Yes, because the
Okay.
way he
Okay.
came back to the vehicle, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That's not.
Any other questions for Mr. Green?
Yeah.
Judge?
I got to follow up on this. What is it that you knew that was illegal? You said
Well,
that
I'm
you-
not sure that there was a robbery or anything. It's just the way he came back to the vehicle. He was sort of kind of out of breath. Like I said, I was parked, I want to say probably around the corner down the street some, but he came back to the vehicle out of breath. So I'm like,
But you
okay,
pled guilty.
whatever. But
You pled guilty to a robbery, party to a crime of robbery, but you're telling us today that you had no idea that a robbery took place.
at the moment that it took place, no. At the very moment, no.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Green from the board? Nope. All right. Mr. Green, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. As I mentioned previously, you don't have to hang out on the Zoom. You're free to go, and someone from the office will be in touch in the next month or two. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. All right. Mr. Mukunda, do we have you on the Zoom? Mr. Thomas Mukunda, no?
Mel, he's on here. I talked to him. I just don't think we can hear him.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Mukunda, if you can hear me, Taylor will reach out and see if she can do some more troubleshooting with you. And we will come back when we
I'm
will.
ready. I'm able to talk right now.
Excellent. Okay, we can
Hello?
hear you. We can hear you,
Yes.
Mr. Mukunda. We will turn it over to you then.
Thank you. Hello?
Yep. Mr. Mukunda, we're just going to ask you to go ahead and briefly tell us what happened, your offenses, how your sentence went, and what you've done since the completion of that sentence, any community involvement, your employment, how things have changed in your life, and then a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why the governor should grant you one.
Thank you for this opportunity, and I am so grateful for Governor Evers for this opportunity based on the former administration had nothing to do with this, so this is so much appreciated. Okay, I was sentenced August, I believe, 29 of 2005 to 3 years in prison for insurer violation trade, also tax rendering fraud, and unfair business practice. I went to prison for 3 years, did the full 3 years, got out with 750 hours of community service, which I performed, and I paid back my restitution. And what I've done since is I have done some self-help with money management and behavioral tips. I was sentenced just to be punished, and I sat there for 3 years, knowing that I am in need of help. And I went to the Bible and Christianity as part of that. I respect the laws. I know I can never outdo the law, and I've never been that way. My parents raised me better than that. I'm finding peace by admitting that I was wrong. And that means that there is no room for anything negative. It has to be total obedience and maintain a repentive attitude. And I'm, again, very humbled by this, very embarrassed. I lost my home. I lost my wife. I lost my brother and sister. My mom died on my March 11th while I was in prison. I did not get to go to the funeral. Since then, I've been working as a Berkey volunteer at the Birkebeiner in Hayward, Wisconsin, mentoring potential convicts with the scare of, hey, you cannot outdo these folks. You must obey the laws. I'm trying to help these folks and not let them think that they can take chances, because they will get caught. I've joined the Bonefish Tarpon Trust, EU Unlimited Elk Foundation. I'm working with the Boy Scouts, and that's one thing. I cannot really get real close as far as fly tying and working with, it's basically manual labor, and therefore I'm limited as to contact with them, which is very embarrassing for me. And I'm helping a friend who has health issues. I do church activity, trash pickup, and again, I surround myself with good people. I know the standards, and I want to do well always. And since 2010, I've been a licensed car salesman in the state of Wisconsin. But it does limit my employment in other states because of this felony. I'm 73 years old, and I think the first time when I was turned down, I did some more self-help, and I thought, there's just no excuse for this. I have no sensible reason why this happened other than I was desperate money management wise. Since then, I've learned to live without, and pray to God that I don't do anything stupid again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mukunda.
Are you there? Yeah.
Questions from board members?
So you feel free to ask me questions, and that would be great.
All right, we will do. I'm going to turn over to Judge Kremers for our first question.
Good morning, Mr. Mukunda. Can you tell me, you paid back over $130,000 in restitution. Can you tell me how you were able to do that? Where'd you get the money?
Yes, yes, thank you for asking that. Some was inheritance from my deceased parents, and other than that, after that, I sold pretty much everything I had to pay this back and make sure that everyone was whole again. So it was an inheritance and selling my personal property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn it to Cindy for a question.
Good morning, Mr. Mukunda.
Good
So
morning.
This was a pretty sophisticated scheme where you stole money from dozens of victims by purporting to sell them long-term care insurance when it wasn't, and telling them they were behind on their payments when they weren't. All of that's true, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then when it started to unravel, you actually went to some of the victims and tried to get them to sign things that said that the money actually was for something else. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. When that I did not do until the actual transaction, if I remember right. But afterwards, I was warned by my attorney it would be obstruction of justice. So I never had contact. Once I was charged with those 6 victims, I did not go back to them. It was prior to that.
But prior to that, you went to them and asked them to sign receipts that the money was actually for a gun you sold them, which you hadn't, things of that nature?
Well, no, there were guns that I sold to people, yes. And so some of that definitely was done at the time of the transaction. But again, I understand the business law now, which I didn't at the time. If you sold someone insurance within a 3-year period, you were not allowed to go back and sell them anything other than insurance unless there was a witness. Otherwise, it's not an arm's length deal. I was naive and stupid to that. And again, that's no excuse. It's just the attitude I had going door to door, trespassing on people. That right now it would never happen again, because obviously I could never be licensed in the insurance business, and I would not go door to door ever again. I look back at that, and I did 33 years of the insurance business, and I really don't have any excuse. That what you're asking me is the truth, and I'm embarrassed to tell you that it should have never gotten to that point to begin with. The law is the law, and I was naive to how severe I would be punished for that. That's no excuse, and I was rightly punished. However, it would never happen again because of the fact that I fear my life as far as the little bit I have left, 73 years old, with the idea that I would spend more time in the penitentiary. And it's something that I have nightmares about. I would never do that. Put myself at risk.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mukunda, I just want to follow up on that briefly. Are you stating that the reason that you broke the law is because you were unaware that this was a prohibited practice in the insurance industry, and you did not know at the time that you were doing this that it was illegal?
Well, I know I did. I know it's illegal now. It's hard to relate back 18, 15 years ago, but I would never put myself at risk knowing that I was breaking a law that would potentially put me in prison. And that's really not the issue. The issue is a selfish desperation for money, which now I've learned not to spend money the way I did before unless I have it. My whole attitude has changed about that feeling of desperation, where I would put myself in a situation where I would, have to do something nefariously. That's not something I even think about now. And I'm very, very ashamed of myself. Very ashamed of myself.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mukunda. Noble, question?
Yeah, Mr. Mukunda, what is your means of income right now?
My main source of income is car sales, and my pension and my Social Security, which is $2,390 a month.
Okay.
So I have my Social Security comes in on the third Wednesday of every month, and then when I can find a job financing and selling vehicles, I do that. I've been licensed with no problem since I think it was 2010 in the state of Wisconsin and several other states with no complaints. But I understand what I've done was very, very serious and a disrespect to the insurance business. Therefore, I take full responsibility. There's no excuse for it. I'm ashamed of myself, and I'm suffering every day with the ramifications from it. I feel very bad about what I did.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions from the board? All right, I think that is it from us, Mr. Bakunda. Thank you for your time, and you're free to go about the rest of the day. No need to stay on the Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you to the governor for this opportunity to come back and re-ask for forgiveness.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Mr. Worm. Mr. Worm, are you on the Zoom?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, we can hear you. Oh, it looks like you're getting your camera working. Perfect. All right, Mr. Worm, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. My name is John Worm. I thank you for this opportunity. I got arrested for having marijuana with the intent to sell. My sentence went accordingly. It was difficult. However, I was treated fairly and take full responsibility. I received 90 days straight time and 2 years probation. It gave me an understanding of what life is really about. There's not any issue with my sentence or my probation officer. It happened 13 years ago. I completed my sentence in 2010. I took care of my mother since then for 15 years. The last 5 years, I stayed home 20 hours a day. She was in her 90s and she was blind. She passed away at 99. I also watch over my neighbors' homes. One has a camper and goes camping often, and one has a condo in Florida, and I take care of their pets and watch over their house. I did snow blowing and shoveling, and cutting grass, and I do a neighborhood watch around the neighborhood with my dog. I also participated in therapy and was fortunate enough to have my therapist write a letter of recommendation, which I appreciated. I learned what is important in life, simple things, being a good person. I am honest and caring. I am 62 and hope to take care of myself for a while. I am applying for this pardon because I applied for lower income housing and because of my record, I was unable to be granted the low income housing. I'm not a violent person and I do not steal. I just want to be able to help myself, my community, and my family, and enjoy the time that I have with them. I need this pardon so I can get that housing. I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Worm. We'll see if the board members have any questions for you. Board members? Cindy.
Just one question, Mr. Worm. You mentioned pet sitting and a lot of maybe odds and ends for jobs. Are you employed otherwise?
No, I collect Social Security and partial SSI.
Okay, thank you.
I have a problem with anxiety and different medical issues.
Other questions from board members for Mr. Worm? None? All right. Mr. Worm, thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate you answering our questions, and you're free to go about the rest of your day. As you probably heard me mention, you can expect to hear from our office in about a month or two. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Mr. Thomas Tabasca, who I do believe I have seen in the Zoom already. All right, and we can see you. If you can unmute yourself, Mr. Tabasca, we'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity.
Welcome.
Brief summary of my offenses. I was in a financially and emotionally and verbally abusive relationship with my former wife. I went to my brother's house to pick up some marijuana for my wife. I had keys to the house. I went over to the house to pick up the bag for my wife, and I saw a filing cabinet open, and there was cocaine in it, and I stole a golf ball chunk of cocaine and tried to sell it, and I got caught in a sting doing it. At the time I was working for an employer that was only paying us once a month. My wife would manage the checkbook to zero. She would do things like come in and kick the chair and say, I spent $500, go out and work another side job. I was trying to sell it to put tires on my son's truck. It was one of many stupid decisions I made at that time of my life. Really, really stupid. Captain Ron, who was in charge of the team, said if I cooperate, we could make this all go away. They searched the vehicle, they searched the house, they asked me if I owned any guns. I said that I did. I showed them where they were at. I believe that made it aggravated. So instead of just getting a slap on the wrist for first offense, I'm a felon. My sentence went excellent. Literally at the end of my community service, one of the first of several miracles in my life happened. The sentence went really well. In addition to the therapy and therapist and counseling sessions, kind of at the beginning of my sentence, I attended 2 sessions of divorce care, which made me realize that I wasn't stuck in a relationship I couldn't get out of, and there are ways to manage it and get help if you ask and talk to the right people. So all in all, the sentence went great. What have I done since completion? I am now actually a facilitator in divorce care. There's 2 sessions a year in fall and in spring. It's very rewarding for me because it reinforces everything that I've learned to change my life around. I did lose my professional career as a result of the arrest. I was able to get a job at Acro, which is on my application, as a temporary employee, and due to my skill set and background, after 7 years, worked myself up to where I would be on the engineering team for the design. I was a group lead for building the automated equipment. I was a field service tech. I worked a lot with France when I was actually on probation, and she was my officer, so that I could actually travel during my sentence, if you will. I donate blood. I've been on 2 juries since that time. And a brief statement about why you think you should receive a pardon. This is all about second chances, and I'm looking for a second chance. I made a really stupid mistake. I have numerous reasons in my application. The first one, because of my skill set as an engineer, I am currently an electrician. I can do so much more than the average electrician because of my engineering degree. I have really good communication and people skills. I can plan anything, research anything, find the answers. For my former employer, Pro Electric, which I recently left this past February, I could not get the job as a foreman because they do a lot of work for the airport, House of Correction. There was a state job at a data center because I'm not allowed to work there. This past winter, work became a little bit slow, and the majority of the work they had was actually at the House of Correction and at the airport. So I actually sat for the employer on unemployment for 6 weeks. Then a series of other events occurred. The division that I worked for was being sold to one of the project managers, and there was a little bit of uncertainty there. So I opted to leave, and I currently am working for VDH Electric in Green Bay, and I moved up to Door County, and I'm taking care of my 81-year-old mother who's a little fragile, and my 85-year-old dad who's suffering from stage 2 dementia. So it's kind of a win-win there. I certainly would like to teach my grandchildren how to hunt. We have 20 acres up here in Door County. We have a 400-yard rifle range that I can't use. I would like to run once I'm permanently up here for the Sevastopol Town Board. I think I have lots of good ideas to help their parks and recreation system. Certainly have opinions on some of the tax issues up here. I'm not able to do that. I have so much more to offer the community. I mean, if I can be a group lead working on, and I can be a group lead, and I've done great things for like MATC, but it would be nice not to be limited, to be able to work at the airport, to be able to work at the House of Correction, be able to work on some of the state and government jobs that I'm not allowed to. So with that, I'll turn it over for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. DeBasket. Questions from board members? All right, looks like you've answered all of our questions. Mr. DeBasket, thanks for your time today. Appreciate you joining the Zoom with us, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. As I've mentioned, you don't need to stay on the Zoom, and we'll be in touch in about a month or two.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Mr. Darren Allen. Mr. Allen, are you on? Yes, I believe I see you on the Zoom. Mr. Allen, if you're able to unmute yourself and turn on your video, we're ready to hear from you.
Okay, I am unmuted.
We can hear you. We can't yet see you, which is okay, but if you are attempting to turn your camera on, it has not worked yet.
How do you do that? I thought this is all set.
That's okay. We can just do, we can hear you, so we can proceed with just audio if that works. So we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, just a brief description of my two crimes. First time was like in June of, I was sentenced in June of '86 for arson, for starting a fire. Mainly was from drinking, drugs, depressed, and I backed out. It was my parents' garage and then my parents' house. Started little fires. The garage was a total loss. So I went to jail for that, for 45 days in jail, 3 years probation, Huber Law, restitution. I also went through alcohol treatment program at Bellin Hospital in Green Bay, which was, I did all this before I got sentenced. And then after that, I was working at a gas station in which I was convicted of stealing money from the till. I got 8 years in prison from that. It was later reduced to 6 years because of restitution. I was released from prison in February 28th of 2000. While I was in prison, I was a driver for the camp. I worked for Police Camp Singer B in Green Bay. So I would drive the workers back and forth to work. I also worked in the canteen while I was there. I was also a part of the self-help program that was at the prison. They would come there and we have meetings and stuff, and we talk about our crimes, the things that we did, why we did them. Then it made us go deeper into ourselves of why we did it. Made us realize that what we did wasn't good, and it made me realize that it hurt my family. My boss Brenda that trusted me to work there, and I was stealing money from her. To be honest, going through all this stuff just brings back some bad memories. I hurt my parents really bad. Sorry.
Take your time, Mr. Allen.
But now, I just want to, my mother passed away a few years ago. I really hurt her, but I have to continue on. So after I got out, I was on probation for 10 years probation, which started in 2000. I then asked the district attorney for early probation release, and which I was granted in 2007. I accepted my responsibility. I also paid back my employer the $50,000 before I got out of prison, because I felt it was best that I just get it done with, instead of paying her like a monthly fee. We took a second mortgage on my house, paid her off, plus the money from my savings accounts and my 401k that we cashed in and stuff. So got that taken care of before I even got out of prison, which was, I think was showing that I did really mean it to pay her back. And I was really upset of what I did. And I just thought it would show good respect to her to just get it done. When I got out of prison, I worked hard to stay on track. I started when I was at Singer B. I was on work release, and I was working at Gusman Pontiac GMC, which is a car dealership. And when I got out, I stayed there. I started out as a service assistant. Then I went to the wash rack, and then I went to the parts department. And they were aware of my crime, but they still gave me, they trusted me. And from there, I went to another car dealership where I was a parts manager. And then I came back to Gusman later on to be a parts manager because their parts manager left. And then in January, it was sold in July of 2010 to a different dealership. And then unfortunately, after like 6 months, they got rid of me. So, and then I started out working at Schneider National, where I am currently now. Started there in 2014. Started out as a stock clerk. About after a year, I took on a new role of inventory coordinator, which is taking care of service trucks out on the road that would fix trucks that would break down. Currently have like 13 locations, have like $1.2 million in inventory that I take care of. I do travel a lot for work. And that's about all that for that work. But then when I got out, I got married to my girlfriend, and she stuck with me throughout my prison time. I got married in June of 2000, actually June 10th, 2000, which is tomorrow's our anniversary. We then bought our own business in May of 2016, which is a hair salon where my wife worked for 20 years, and then it was offered to us to buy, so we purchased that. We support various organizations within the community, the Lions Club, American Legion. We support the K-9 unit for the Pulaski Police Department. We have like a donation jar and stuff like that. She belongs to the Chamber of Commerce. We help out with the school district. We also do like holiday events, like for Halloween and Christmas stuff. Like kids come around to all the businesses, and we give them money for Christmas. It's little gift cards. We do like Secret Santas. We'll go to a store and just hand out like various gift cards, like $20 or $50 to various people, just like a surprise. And we just tell them just to pass it on. The reason why I'm asking for a pardon is I still feel that where I am at work, I applied for a higher job as a team leader, and my boss knows about me, about my felonies, and I think that might have hurt me getting a leader job. I don't know for sure, but I would think if I can get rid of that off of my record, I think it'll help me. I trying very hard to gain respect and trust through my job. I've had other job opportunities with interviews. As soon as the interview was going well, as soon as I would tell them about my felony, basically they just didn't want anything to do with me anymore. So it went from night to day, from day to night. It's like nothing I said mattered anymore. So, and when I do understand that, so I feel if I can get rid of the felonies off my thing, it would help me further my career. I feel like my life would be back on track, and all my hard work has paid off. I think it would finalize it. Maybe not to forget about it, but because I'm never going to forget about what I did, because I'm reminded basically every day, just by certain things will just come up, whether it's, people in trouble on the news, or I still drive by the place all the time. And I won't forget about it, but I would like to have the governor forgive me and get back all my rights. And that's,
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
it. Yep.
Let's see if board members have any questions for you. Looks like Noble does.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Are you still receiving treatment and counseling at this particular time?
No, I am not. I am not. Through counseling, I learned that just how to manage myself, and with the OCD, it's just obsessive compulsive disorder, which I just learned how to deal with it. Learn to, the main thing with compulsion is it's something that I thought I wanted, but through counseling, they say, well, it's just something that it's hard to describe, but I am, I guess I'm not compulsive. I mean, I don't want to do it no more, just through the counseling.
Thank you.
Thank you. Judge, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, sorry. Looks like you're starting. Cindy does. Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Allen. One of the things that sort of struck me about your crime was the duration of it. It looks like for about 13 years, you stole about $150 every day you worked. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate. That's what it was in the transcripts, and what when I was first questioned by the loss prevention officer for U.S. Oil, they kind of, I did steal. I'm not going to say I didn't, but they kind of, I don't know how they came up with this figure, but we settled for $50,000 at a restitution hearing, because I think originally they said like it was $195,000. If I remember
I'm not asking about the money. I'm asking about how long you did this.
Oh, I did it probably, I don't know if a full 13 years. I'd say probably at least 9 years continuously, but it wasn't an everyday ordeal.
But it went on for 8 or 9 years. I mean, at no point during 8 or 9 years, you stopped and thought, I really shouldn't be doing this.
Yes, I did try to stop. I would always keep saying, I had enough. I don't want to do this no more. But it's the obsessive compulsive disorder that always kept me doing it. I don't know why, but once I got caught, I think I started realizing that what I was doing was wrong. I feel bad for, I feel bad for my boss. I feel bad for my parents because it brought everything to sight, and I probably realized what people were actually thinking about me, that I was trying to do it. I was just trying to be, I was taking the money, trying to be somebody that it wasn't. And now I understand why that, it was wrong.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Allen. Looks like we don't have any more questions for you, so thank you for your time today. As I mentioned, you don't need to stay on the Zoom, and you can expect to hear from my office in about a month or two. We've got one more applicant from our 8:30 to 10 block. So Mr. Brian Geller, if you are on the Zoom, we'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good morning, we can.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for inviting me today. So I'm a little nervous and I don't want to leave anything out. So I'm going to read a statement to you that I have prepared. When I was in my early 20s, I had a serious problem controlling my appetite for drinking. And as you might expect, when I would drink, my behavior and judgment was horrible. On several occasions, I got into trouble with the police. The one common factor on each occasion was that I had been drinking. This includes the felony case for which I am seeking a pardon. It also includes several cases of disorderly conduct and conviction for misdemeanor battery. I seek a pardon for the felony, but I will also try to explain the battery conviction because I feel that case is also very important for you to understand my entire criminal record. In 1992, when I was 22, I had been drinking at a bar. When I came home and got into an argument with my girlfriend at the time, Shelly, we are now married. Shelly wanted to be here today, but she is working at a car dealership and she couldn't get away because she's the only manager who was able to work today. You have a letter from her as part of my application. On this occasion in 1992 that I will describe more than 30 years ago, Shelly was mad at me for drinking too much. As usual, she was right. I'd had too much to drink. If you asked me to describe everything that occurred that night, I would not be able to do that. I was drunk and it was more than 30 years ago. I know that we were screaming at each other. I know that as upset as I might have been, I never intended or wanted to hurt Shelly. I am also very glad to know that she was not injured. A few more specifics from that night, but I do not pretend to know everything that happened. I know that I stood between Shelly and the doorway to stop her from leaving. I remember that when we were in the hallway, I fell into her and she hit the floor. I know that my behavior was completely inappropriate and it would not have happened if I had not been drunk. I do not blame anybody but myself. The police were called. I was charged with false imprisonment and battery. Eventually, the imprisonment charge was reduced to disorderly conduct. I was convicted of disorderly conduct and battery. That was the most embarrassing and saddest incident of my life. I loved Shelly then as much as I love her now. We have been married for 15 years. We have 2 children together. I have helped to raise 2 other children that Shelly had in a previous relationship. Looking back, I can't believe that I treated Shelly so badly, especially on this occasion when the police got involved. Even though she is not here, I wanted to address Shelly for a minute. Shelly, I am truly sorry for that night and all the nights that I drank too much and acted foolishly. I am so grateful that you eventually forgave me and that we have shared our lives together for the last 15 years in marriage. It is a great embarrassment to me that my criminal history did not end in 1992 when this incident occurred with Shelly, but for some reason, it was not enough to teach me a lesson. Looking back, I wish I could grab my 22-year-old self by the collar and say, just quit drinking, dummy. It seems so obvious now as a dad and a grandfather that I needed to quit drinking, quit right then and there, but I didn't. I have no excuses for my selfish choice to keep drinking. When it was clear that I was not capable of doing it safely, I wish I could get those years back and take back all the dumb, insensitive, and dangerous things I did when I drank, but I can't. In 1994, once again, I had too much to drink at the bar. This led to my felony conviction. I left the bar and drove to a friend's house. On the way, an officer heard the exhaust on my truck. which was too loud. He could also see that I was driving unsafely. I was drunk. I never should have been driving. I put everyone else that was out at that time at risk by my stupid decision. But my stupid decision making that night got even worse. The officer tried to pull me over. In a drunk and very foolish decision, I did not stop. For 10 minutes, I kept driving. This was one of the most idiotic and dangerous decisions I've ever made. Looking back, I could have hurt the police officer or any other driver or pedestrian out that night. Thinking about my kids and grandkids, it makes me sick that I put other innocent people, possibly children, at risk. After leading the police on a chase for about 10 minutes, I came to my senses, stopped, and turned myself in. I was convicted on felony eluding and OWI. Fortunately, this case was my wake-up call. I hit bottom, and I finally got it. Shelley broke up with me and moved away with our daughter. I ended up living back at home with my parents. I was 24. I hated myself for what I had done, but I also got motivated. Within a year, I had pretty much completely quit drinking. I say pretty much because I've been fortunate to be able to drink in a controlled way now that many years have passed since I was a reckless drinker. I do not crave alcohol. There are times that I have a beer, just know not to have another, and I don't. I would estimate that I have 6 or 7 beers total. I have several friends, relatives, and have alcoholics my entire life. I consider myself to be extremely lucky that I was essentially able to stop drinking when I was in my 20s before I hurt another person or myself or completely ruined my life. I am actually grateful for the felony conviction because that and my wife and children motivated me to change. I have found more productive and interesting outlets than drinking, my family and my work. I poured all my energies into my visits that I had with my daughter, Cassie. After Cassie and Shelley moved to Stevens Point, I would drive up the point every weekend to be with her and Shelley's 2 other children from another relationship, Randy and Tabitha. My goal was to always find fun activities so that our short time together would be special. We would be outside as much as we could, playgrounds, fishing, camping, or just walking and playing in nature. I also started to work in the roofing industry around this time. Roofing's hard labor. You have to get up early, get out to the job site, even in cold weather. It's a referral-based business, so my job is not done until the customer is not just satisfied, but happy with my work. The structure of my new routine, working all week as a roofer and spending weekends with the kids in Point, helped keep me focused. Eventually, I learned enough of the roofing business to take over after my mentor retired. I worked with a partner, Adam, who also has written a letter, but I know that I can't do the roofing industry forever, and the business isn't big enough to keep me on once I cannot work. Shelley and I had another child together, Alyssa, who is now 14. One reason I am applying for a pardon is that with a 14-year-old, I expect that I'll be working into my 60s and 70s, but physically I probably won't be able to continue as a roofer for that long. A pardon would be a great help to me to re-enter the job market. I'm also applying for a pardon because our business has lost customers due to my felony conviction. And my hope is that with a pardon, I will be in a better position to explain the conviction to the customers who ask about it. Another reason I'm seeking a pardon, and probably the number one reason, is so that I can be involved in Alyssa and my grandchildren's activities. Alyssa is entering her teen years, so there's not too many opportunities for me to chaperone or participate in school activities. I want to be able to participate in whatever opportunities there might be before she goes to college. And my 4 grandkids are starting to reach school age. I would love to serve as a scout leader, a chaperone school trips, especially trips that involve the outdoors. However, the felony conviction disqualifies me from doing this. I hope that having a pardon would allow me to have an even greater role in the lives of my grandchildren. I must thank each of you, Governor Evers, for this opportunity. I want to thank Shelley once more for standing beside me through this whole process. Whatever the outcome of your decision, I will continue to be a hardworking grandfather, father, husband, businessman, and citizen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Geller. Really appreciate that. And I imagine you've answered many of our questions, but before I turn it to other board members, I just want to clarify one thing that you said. When you were talking about drinking responsibly, you said that you can have one beer, but you know not to have another. And then you said something about 6 or 7 drinks total. And I think I just missed a bit of it.
Okay, yeah, so that is probably in about a year's time, is probably about how
6 or
much
7 in a year. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to make sure that you weren't saying all at once after saying one. Okay.
Oh, no, I think I forgot to put a year in there. I left that out, so.
I think I just missed it. Any other questions for Mr. Geller? All right, I think your statement covered everything. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Geller. And you're free to go about the rest of your day. And you can expect to hear from us in about a month or 2 about a decision on your application.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so we're running just about 5 minutes behind, so we'll head right into our next group of applicants scheduled for 10 to 11:30. So we're going to start with Miss Safford, who I believe I saw on the Zoom. Miss Safford, can you just correct me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly?
Yes, it's Tila Safford.
Safford. Okay, great. Thank you. We'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Tila Safford, and I would like to first thank you all for the opportunity. I am here to ask for a pardon for case number 2006 CF005106, misappropriation of identification, which occurred in 2006. I was 20 years old at the time. I am now 36. My aunt and myself went into a bank and opened up an account using someone else's identity with the intentions to obtain and distribute worthless checks. I received a sentence of 1 year in the House of Correction with Huber privileges for child care. I was released within 6 months early due to good behavior. I regret making this poor decision and knew that it could harm other people. I'm so regretful for doing that. I should not have let someone else influence me to do something that I knew was wrong in my heart. I am so sorry for the pain and uncomfortability that I have caused the victim. And that person did not deserve to be treated that way. So I want to apologize for my wrongdoing. I am now a mother of 3 sons. I have 1 grandson, and I have not had any police contact since 2008, which was a traffic citation. I have been on a straight and narrow path of elevation and change. I have since started a career in early childhood education. I have obtained my associate's degree in early childhood education from Waukesha Technical College. I am now a Red Cross certified instructor. I am a Wisconsin registered trainer for shaken baby syndrome and abusive head trauma. I am currently seeking my bachelor's degree in human services at Springfield College online. I am expected to graduate next spring. Right now, I have a GPA of 3.8. I am currently employed at St. Anne Center for Intergenerational Care as an education and child care director. I was recently promoted into that position from an assistant director. I would like to be considered for a pardon because I want people to know that I am not who my past is. As today, I am a stronger and better woman. I am more mature. Being granted this pardon will help me further my career and possibly allow me to be able to open up my own learning center. I would like to thank you all for this opportunity for consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Safford. We'll see if we have questions from the board. Any questions? Nope, looks like your application has answered them all for us. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate you being here today and speaking with us. You can expect to hear from us in about a month or 2 about your application. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out.
All right, thank you all and have a great day.
You as well, thank you. Our next applicant is Santana Dillon.
Hi, I'm right here.
Hi, Ms. Dillon. How are you?
Hi, I'm so nervous. I would like to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity to express myself and reasons why I feel I should have a pardon for a conviction I received in 2005, sorry. Just a little bit about myself. Well, my name is Santana Dillon. I'm a mother of 5, and in 2005, I did something that I really, really regret and was really naive to the situation when it happened. I used fake work checks to go into a bank and try to cash fake work checks. It's something that really hindered my career for a very long time. And I just really would like to have a pardon for this, because it's a lot of things that I'm trying to do with my life, and that having that on my record stops a lot of things that I'm trying to do. Since the conviction, I received no jail time. I was on probation for 3 years, and I completed probation. I had to pay restitution back to the banks for the forgery checks. So the felony I have now is Class H felony, and it's for forgery, uttering, and party to a crime. So let me just go back a little bit. I'm so nervous. In 2005, I was only 19 years old then, and I'm currently almost 37 now. So about 2 decades ago, close. I met 2 guys who approached me, and I was so young then, and asked, do I want to go try to cash some fake checks for them? And I willingly went just because I needed money for my son. I had a 2-year-old at the time. So of course, me being young and naive, I went along with them, and they provided me with the fake checks. And I went to my bank that I currently had in my name and tried to deposit the checks. And then when I tried to come back to receive the money from the checks that I deposited, the police arrested me then. So I didn't receive any jail time or anything like that, because I was very cooperative, gave all the information I knew about the guys, and any other questions or assistance that they needed from me. So I had probation for 3 years and had to pay back restitution. So I paid all the restitution back. In 2008, I believe, I think that's when my probation was completed in 2008, and I paid all the restitution back for everything. And since then, I have 4 more kids, and they're trying to just better my life. I have graduated college 3 times. I have a dental assistance certificate, associate's degree in information technology, a bachelor's degree in human resource management, and I just recently obtained my master's degree in education. So I'm currently a licensed teacher with the state of Wisconsin, working for Milwaukee Public Schools. And I recently had set up something with the mayor of Milwaukee, Cavalier Johnson, and the police chief, where I had my students in my classroom write letters to how to combat reckless driving, and what do they feel, how it's impacting their lives. And it touched them. So they came to our school, and they had sat down with a whole bunch of students. The news was there. It was really wonderful. And the students really appreciated that. And they got a lot of feedback from them. They had kind of like a Q&A session. So that's one way that I try to prove that I've bettered myself. I currently own my home now, and I have several bank accounts that's open with good standards. I haven't did anything since then, no kind of criminal history or anything since then. I have a checking account too, so they trust me with using checks there at their bank. A mortgage, I have Associated Bank. We a credit union. I have a multiple car loans and things like that with them, and savings account. What else? I'm a prominent member of the society now. I vote in every major election. I attend school board meetings. I'm a part of the committee at my school, where we help parents find different resources in the community. I teach financial literacy to students now, teaching them the importance of why you should be responsible when you having checks, and what's the consequences when you do things like that with checks, and how to successfully have an account and savings account and things like that. I did that a lot. I recently volunteer at JA Biztown, which is another financial literacy type of thing that I do with middle schoolers. And the reason that I really would like a pardon, and just for instance, is a hindrance on my progress in life. Like, I'm trying to move up to be at Milwaukee Public School, the district. And I know they look at that a lot, because I just tried to apply just this week recently, and I told them about my hearing this week, and they turned me down because they was waiting. They see the felony on my record. So they're waiting to see what happens here at this hearing, everything that really would determine. She flat right told me that if this was off and then you would have had got the position and things like that. So I know that it hinders me a lot. This isn't the first time that I've been turned down from positions like this where I'm trying to be in more leadership roles. I have done a lot of leadership roles already within my school and in the school district, but when I'm trying to go to other districts, like Whitefish Bay, for instance, I was just applied there and denied a summertime employment because I'm still currently an MPS employee. I teach sixth grade social studies, and I've been doing it for working with children for over 15 years now, period. But I just recently was licensed with the state for about 2 years. So I have my license and master's degree, but I had always been working in childcare settings and things like that for over 15 years. So I just recently tried to apply in Whitefish Bay and they turned me down. She told me, it's because of my background. And I told them about this hearing. So they're waiting on the result of this hearing actually too, because they really want me to work there, but they said that they want to know more what was going to happen with my background. So it's really like hindering me. I tried to be a positive person. I have, like I said, never got in any trouble since then. It's like, that really scared me straight. Like I learned my lesson. I was 19, but I have also matured since then. I have 4 more kids since then. I try to be a positive role model for them, to them that your actions have consequences and you don't want to just do things that's going to affect your future. So I always tell my kids that, and my students as well, like make positive decisions then. I wish I had someone to tell me that back then, and maybe I wouldn't have been and did that. But it really—
Thank you, Ms. Dillon. I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to make sure that we get to questions from the board, and it looks like Noble has one. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Well, good morning, Ms. Dillon. What position are you looking at trying to acquire at Whitefish Bay?
In Whitefish Bay, I just like to do work in the summertime. So I was looking, trying to get a position with Kindle Camp, team leader, like the manager over the whole summertime program, where I'd be in the classroom creating a lesson plan and things like that. Stop, King. Creating the lesson plans and things like that. So she told me that my background was stopping me from being able to do that this summertime.
But you have been a licensed teacher, what did you say, 16 years?
2 years licensed, but I've been working with kids 15 years, but I've been MPS for 6 years now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Other questions for Ms. Dillon? None? All right. Ms. Dillon, thank you so much for speaking with us today. We really appreciate your time and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you one more question? I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I know you had told everyone else that it takes like 1 to 2 months to hear back from anything. Do they have any kind of expedited process? Because I know they're waiting to hear, and I really want to have that position this summer.
I know that. We will certainly move as fast as we can, but I can't promise you that it'll be faster than 1 to 2 months at this point. We just need to make sure that we do all of our due diligence for the governor when he's considering your application, but we will move as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Mr. Shatrice Minute, who I believe I saw on the Zoom. There you are. Ms. Minute, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Shatrice Minette, and I'm a 35-year resident of Wisconsin. On September 25th, 2007, I committed a serious crime. I violated someone, I violated laws, and I violated morality. There is absolutely no reasoning behind it. I will say that it was deeply rooted in dysfunction and chaos. On November 3rd, 2008, I was convicted. And as part of a lawful judgment, I was ordered to turn myself in to a correctional center, pay fines and fees, restitution, give up rights. And most importantly, I was given the opportunity to face my victims on that day. I was able to apologize. face to face, and I was told that I was forgiven. Today, I want to first and foremost apologize again. Okay. Okay, I'm seeking a pardon now today, officially asking that I'm forgiven by the state for this conviction. And I'm seeking a pardon for official acknowledgement that I'm back on track and to eliminate the stigma associated with the conviction. As I'm at work and I'm facing my clients and families, with the interview process, I've kind of went through a pardon process with explaining my conviction and things I've done and since then with employers. But then I'm faced with families and things who may like me and go home and look my name up and see this. So this is one of the major reasons why I'm wanting to seek this pardon. I'm also thanking you all, the panel and court, for your time and consideration today. It's very important to me as well. I feel like I'm asking you for forgiveness for this conviction, so that I could better serve in healthcare. Since this conviction, I immediately became a mom. I was pregnant when I was convicted. I went on to become a CNA in 2007. Then in 2015, I realized that I was unraveling. I was having a lot of mental outbursts. I went and got family counseling. I went back to school at Gateway. And in 2017, I graduated. I became a human service associate. I also worked with Gateway as an employee. I worked in special needs department where I would tutor special needs students and I would be a note taker. I also that December went on and got my AODA certificate. So now I have a second in AODA training as well. I went on to work in nursing homes and behavior centers. And then in 2021, I was selected by the DON of the nursing home I was working in to take a medication aid training. And I successfully completed that. And I went on to pass meds in a nursing home. And in 2022, I took on a COVID assignment where I was selected to take training in surgery department in the hospital. And I went on to successfully complete my sterile processing technician certificate. And what it has done is it kind of built up a want for me to go back to school and be a nurse. That's what I was originally in school for when I was convicted of this crime. And they said, absolutely not. You will not go into clinicals with this conviction. So I did everything else and I have never wanted to be a nurse out of my system. I've gotten all these certifications to boost me up, to have the skills so that if and when I'm given a pardon, I will go on to nursing school and I will graduate. I will become a circulating nurse. And I feel like I will go on to educate. I have two boys, 15 and 8. My 15-year-old is in driving courses this summer and I'm getting him to get his temporary license. I will go on to prevent people from hurting friends and family like I did and community. By choosing a positive life, one that is free from destruction and worth it. And I will go on to teach people how to seek help when confronted with dysfunction and how to serve in the community with compassion. Once again, I just want to say that with everything in this case, the sentencing, the restitution, it doesn't take from the fact that I will forever go on to remember this mistake. With everything I have done, given birth, applied for jobs, I have not forgotten this for one moment. So I just want to say to my victims again, I am sorry to be rehashing this on this day. Yes, I am seeking forgiveness from the court, and I appreciate all your time.
Thank you, Ms. Minette. We're going to just see if we have any questions for you. Board members, any questions? Judge Kremers.
Yeah, can you tell us about the 2014 disorderly conduct and bail jumping convictions? What was that
Yes.
about?
Yes, this is the incidents I'm telling you about with my family. I live with my grandfather, and it was a lot of dysfunction in our home with drinking, etc. And at the time I was pregnant with my youngest son. It was Thanksgiving, and my grandfather became irate, and it really doesn't matter what he was doing. I engaged in a confrontation with him, and the police came, and my grandmother, she says, you know, this is my husband, this is my granddaughter, she's out of line, he's out of line, but she can leave my house. And the police took me. And since that, I have had family counseling with my grandfather, etc. And he went on to have cancer, and to this day, I'm his personal caregiver. But that is the incident from that.
Okay, but were you also not sending your kids to, or one of your children to school?
My oldest son, he has special needs. He would go to school and lash out. They would send him home within like 5 minutes of going to school. So what I ended up doing was taking him out of school and putting him into homeschool. At the time, I didn't know that I was supposed to transfer to DPI services or something like that. So it was a miscommunication between myself and Unified. And we were just at the point of getting this resolved when this incident with my grandfather happened. And to save my job at that time, I went on and said, okay, wrap that. I think the judge said I will read this into the disorderly conduct rather than keep you coming back to court to have you totally dismiss it and stuff like that, which was a mistake on my part at the time. I should have cleared it out, but that is that issue. That was a mistake between myself and Unified, which has since been rectified.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy.
Morning, Ms. Minette. You may
Good
have heard
morning.
this question of previous applicants, but while not required, it's encouraged to submit letters of support, and you did not submit any. Can you tell us why not?
I honestly didn't understand. I do have support though. I have my employer who was questioning me all week about today. I really, if I could have the opportunity to have them submit them, I would like to. But yeah, I didn't have any lawyer support helping me with this or anything, and I dropped the ball on that. I don't know why I didn't.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Ms. Minette, for your time, and you can expect to hear from us in about 1 to 2 months about the outcome of your application, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Ms. Teresa Westby, who I think I already see unmuting. Hello, Ms. Westby. We're going to turn it over to you. I'm going to ask you to keep your remarks, your summary to about 3 to 4 minutes so that we make sure that we have time to ask you some questions and keep everyone on track today. And I'll ask all the following applicants, I know some of you are on, to also keep it to about 3 to 4 minutes so that we do have time for questions. So with that, Ms. Westby, I'll turn it to you.
Okay. I would like to thank y'all for the opportunity of it's been, I want to say, about 21 years since I've had police contact. I had like an addiction. Well, I had 2 addictions. One was a drug addiction and one was theft. I used to like take things from the store and resell them to people. I had to leave my family for about 2.5, affected my life, my children's life, most important, by being out of their lives. I had to leave my son at 6 years old, which my son is autistic. But since then, I reevaluated myself. There's a lot that has changed about me. I've done, I have my cosmetologist license. I have CDO license. I have daycare license. I've been a bus driver now for about 7 years. I look at life totally different. I've learned from my mistakes. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to know if possibly if they could forgive me and it would make things more better when I go for jobs. I don't have that much more time till I retire at 65. Once again, I'm 59. I would like to open up a daycare and a group home. I do work with autistic and disabled people. I've also worked in mental health. I take 3 more classes. I'll have a degree in mental health. I also have an autistic son, which I've raised. My son, he graduated from Washington High School. He was valedictorian of Washington High School. He's graduated commercial culinary art. He's been on his job now for 6, 7 years. So I pretty much came home and just been pretty much focused on looking at life differently and doing things better than I was. I haven't had used drugs in, oh God, in 20 something years. Yeah. So I've prayed a lot. I've asked God to forgive me. So now I'm asking the system if they could give me a second chance at life.
Thank you, Ms. Wesby. Questions? Cindy?
Yes, Ms. Westby, you heard me ask the last applicant this, but you also did not submit any letters of support. Can you tell us why you didn't?
Yes, I'm really not good at computers. I had to come out today to ask someone to help me, even with this Zoom. I'm more better with pen and papers. When I did notice the application, because that was my second time, I didn't do the original one correctly. So by the time I realized it, that I needed to have someone to, support some people to support me, my application had been well in. So I noticed it at the last minute, but I do have like my job. I have a few people that I could ask to submit letters. So I just noticed it at the end because I had a hard time with my application and I did it alone.
Thank you.
Judge Kremers.
Good morning, Ms. Westby. Ms. Westby, could you tell us in your own words what it is you did, what your crime was?
Oh, well, I had some retail thefts. There was a burglary on my record, which wasn't a burglary. I knew someone for at that time, about 10 or 15 years. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. He came to my home. He asked me if I could give him a ride because him and his girlfriend was having problems. I gave him a ride to get some of his property from his girlfriend's house. I got to the house. I sit out front. I waited for him to go in. He took a long time. I went to the door and I told him that he was taking too long and I wanted a glass of water. I went in to get the glass of water. I got a glass of water. I set it on the glass on the table or on the sink or something. I set the glass down and he handed me at that time a VCR. I took the VCR, but then I set it back down because I was like, I'm not here for that. I don't have nothing to do with you and her business. So after that, about 2 weeks later, the FBI came to my house and arrested me for a burglary. That was his girlfriend. I think I was in her house, but I think that a family member lives around there and she thought that I was there for a sexual reason or something other than helping him move some things from the property. So it ended up coming up being a burglary on my, and it never was a burglary.
Well, you pled guilty to burglary.
Yeah, I did, because I was already on probation prior to that. And it just, I don't know, the attorney said that it just would be better for me. So I wanted to just go home. At the time I gave them pictures of my home, and my whole house was, they could find no reason why I would take something, because my house was much better than that. So I never took anything from anyone's house, but I did take things from stores and resell them.
Yeah, but Ms. Westby, let's talk about the burglary.
Yes, sir.
Didn't you go in front of a judge and the judge said you're charged with going into someone's house to steal something, knowing that you were going into the house without permission, and you agreed with the judge that that's what you did?
I did, and I'm agreeing now. I did go into her house. I never knew her. I never knew that person, but I did go in there. That's what I just said. I went in there to get a glass of water and tell him to hurry up and come out.
Okay, but
And the VCR, I never removed it. I told him that I didn't want to get involved, and I set it down, and that's how they found fingerprints of my fingers on the VCR.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Westby? All right, none. Thank you very much for your time today, Ms. Westby. We appreciate you coming and talking to us, and we'll be in touch in about a month or two about your application, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Mr. Brandon Finkbaum. Mr. Finkbaum, there you are. We can't hear you. You give it another try.
Can you hear me now?
We can. All right, Mr. Finkbaum, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Okay. Hi, my name is Brandon Finkbaum. I'm here asking for a pardon because about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I was fighting addiction, hanging out with the wrong crowd type thing. My own fault. We went and we broke into some bars, took some money and alcohol. Something I've regretted since then. Since that time, I have completely moved across the state, isolated myself from those people that I was involved with, helped my addiction. About 2015, 2016, I graduated from a technical college as an automotive technician. Realized that wasn't something I really wanted to do. I moved to the Fox Valley area here in Appleton and enrolled into the Fox Valley Technical College here into the nursing program. I received the Nurse Corps scholarship through the federal government, through the Bureau of Workforce Development, and they paid for my whole school. And in return, I will work 2 years in underserved facilities, something that I wanted to do anyways. And so getting this scholarship seemed to make sense. A lot of them are mental health facilities or low income clinics, stuff like that, that are severely neglected anyways. While going to school, I graduated with honors from the nursing program this May. I received the Daisy Award for Outstanding Clinical Skill and Extraordinary Compassionate Care. It's a nationwide award given to nurses that are deserving of it. I received the Fox Valley Technical College Leadership Award this May as well. I will, for my part in being the Student Nurses Association president for the college, and for my part in tutoring younger students. So I guess the big reason I want a pardon is to be able to go on, continue working in the nursing career. A big thing that I think contributed to where I was 10, 11 years ago and what I want to do in the future is I grew up in foster care. From age 4 to 14, I just didn't have a lot of guidance or direction of where I wanted to be at the time when I was younger, the 17, 18 years old. And so that led to me doing some of the things I did, even though it was my decision. But I think in the future, it also will help me be where I want to be. And I want to give back to those underserved facilities and help people that maybe were in the same position as me growing up as well.
Thank you, Mr. Finkbaum. Questions from board members? Judge.
Good morning, sir. So I want to make sure I understand the sequence here. This felony conviction was from 2010.
Yep.
But around the same time, you were convicted of a theft, a criminal damage to property, a possession of marijuana, 2 more counts of misdemeanor theft. That was actually in 2011.
Yep.
And then theft of movable property in 2012. Your probation was extended 3 or 4 times and you weren't actually discharged until 2017. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, a lot of those charges were I was avoiding the law. You know, I wasn't taking care of things, so kind of everything kind of was getting finalized at the same time. And regarding the probation, it was due to restitution not being paid. So they would extend it for the restitution aspect.
When did you finish paying restitution?
I believe in 2017. Me and the co-defendant were supposed to be paying it separately or together, and that just never happened. And so finally I paid the last of it off in 2017. So I paid the entire restitution off.
And when did you start the nursing program that you're?
2019, I started generals, and the actual nursing program was 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Cindy.
Just to follow on that, it doesn't look like your probation was extended just for not paying restitution. You also absconded in 2011, is that right? You stopped reporting?
Yeah, that was part of, I don't believe I was charged or on probation for the felony yet. But then I was arrested and everything kind of started going, I guess. So then once I absconded and I went back, I served the jail sentence and this and that. And then after that, I never had any issues with the probation.
Well, I need to understand, you absconded, meaning you stopped reporting to your probation officer, or you didn't report to jail, or what happened?
I missed a couple checking in with the probation officers, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Probation is a gift in my mind. People could go to prison for felonies. They get probation, and you had a 2-year probation in 2010 that you turned into a 7-year probation.
Yeah, just paying back the restitution. There was a little over $11,000, and just me being 19, 20 with the record and this and that, it was hard for me to pay that off in 2 years. And so that's why it was kept being extended until I could pay it off.
Okay. You heard me ask the previous 2 applicants this, but you also did not submit any letters of support. Is there a reason why not?
I think mostly embarrassment. I didn't really want to talk to people about it. Another reason, at the time I was doing these crimes, I didn't have a lot of family support. Since then, I have, I'm fully invested back into my family that I was adopted with. But part of it too, I just didn't want, my parents would write it to a letter, but I just felt like I wanted it more because I deserved it. I don't know, I just felt weird having my parents write it, and my dad's like on a county board, this and that. So I just didn't feel like it was appropriate to have him weigh in on the situation as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from board members? All right, then we'll thank you for your time, Mr. Fickbaum. Appreciate you being with us today. As you've heard me say, you can expect to hear from us about a month or 2, and you're free to go about enjoying the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Our next applicant is Mr. Matthew Ardemick, who I believe I did see on the Zoom. Mr. Ardemick?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can't see you, but if you don't have video, that's okay.
Yeah, I don't have video.
Okay, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you then.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name's Matthew Ardemick, 33 years old. I'm here speaking for a pardon for a felony for fleeing and eluding an officer in 2013, which I received when I did not pull over on my snowmobile. On the evening coming home, I got called into work early. Was at a bar getting dinner with some friends, lost track of the trail, ended up on a public road. Between the obstruction view from my helmet, loudness of my engine, and being under the influence of alcohol, I did not realize I was being stopped until it was too late. I served my court mandated sentence as ordered and was lucky enough to maintain employment, not only through the court proceedings, but also while serving my 90 days with Huber privileges. Since completing my sentence back in 2013, I've continued to work for the same company, transitioning from labor role to sound communication technician with school and training along the way to further me. I'm trusted in the company now. I have a service truck and I teach and lead other employees while running and completing major projects. Having a felony on my record restricts me from working at certain institutions, which is really hard on my boss some days. I also have started a family, got married, bought a house, and found a passion for hunting and fishing. As to why I think I'm worthy of a pardon, this offense has haunted me for the last 10 years. I know I'm a better person who I was back then. I built a life that I'm proud of, family that trusts me. There are many in the world I'm comfortable being around guns and whatnot. And I do not want my 4-year-old son to be one of those. I want to teach him how to properly handle weapons and to start making memories with him like I did with my father and like we do hunting and fishing in the outdoors. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Ardemick. I have a question for you before I turn it over to my other board members, who seems like we have a few questions for you. You mentioned that you have a passion for hunting and fishing. What kind of hunting do you currently do?
Bow hunting.
Bow hunting. Okay, thank you. Other board members, questions? Noble.
I just want to clarify something that you mentioned as you were presenting. You said that you did not realize that you were being stopped. Did I hear that correctly?
I didn't at the time until I was already on the road in town, and that caused me to crash my snowmobile, and then it kind of escalated from there.
Thank you.
Other questions, Judge?
Yeah, I gotta follow up on that because you're telling us in your application, you said you had, because of the helmet you had on and the noise of the snowblower or snowmobile, you had no idea you were being followed. But in the criminal complaint, it says you confessed in the criminal complaint to seeing the officers, seeing their lights and running from them. So which is it, Mr. Ardemick?
So initially, when I was on the road, taking the shortcut to the trail, I did not see the officer behind me until I turned onto the main road where the trail was. Then I seen him and was trying to get away, and yeah.
What?
By the time I noticed him, and well, I guess obviously I didn't stop and I confessed to it. So
yeah, because in your application, you say you didn't see him at all. You just say you never saw the officer until you crashed, which is obviously inconsistent with your confession, and I guess inconsistent with what you're saying now. So I just want to make sure that I understand what you're telling us.
yes, I did not see him initially until I crashed. Yes.
Well, now you're changing it again, sir. I'm not trying to be difficult here, but it's very
no, sorry.
Let me finish. It's very important to us as pardon board that people are able to acknowledge what it is they did wrong, so we understand what it is they're asking for a pardon for. More importantly, so the governor understands what it is you're acknowledging you did wrong, and therefore whatever steps you've done to right the wrong. And I'm hearing, mixed messages here. Maybe it's me, but one point you say, well, you didn't know the police were behind you until you crashed, but in the confession, in the complaint that happened on the right afterwards, you acknowledged that the police were chasing you and you didn't stop.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I did know that they were chasing me. I did try to run. And when I was running, it's when I crashed. And
okay. Thank you.
Other questions from board members? All right, seeing none, Mr. Artemig, thank you very much for your time today. You can expect to hear from us in about a month or two on the status of your application, and you're free to go enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
thank you.
Our next applicant is Mr. Dale Nielsen, who I know I have seen on the Zoom. Let's see here.
Yes, thank you.
There you are, Mr. Nielsen. I will turn it over to you.
Good morning, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today, including why I'm seeking a pardon for my felony. The felony was a charge of uttering or forging and passing a bad check. A woman I had dated in the past came into a grocery store where I was working. She had a check with her that I knew was not hers. Foolishly, I vouched for her and helped her cash the check. Around the same time, I was convicted also 5 misdemeanors for issuing bad checks and obstruction. These crimes occurred more than 30 years ago. I was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for my felony. I was around the age of 20 years old. When I was convicted, I doubt that anyone would have thought that I had any chance in life. I'm very fortunate to be here today. I credit my hard work, my wife, and our family and friends that have been very supportive. Please bear with me. I'm not used to speaking in public, and I'm very nervous about this occasion. Where I've been, well, I grew up in a broken home, did not have good role models. A lot of this started around the age of 12, which didn't help my situation get any better. I'm not using it as an excuse. It's just where I've been. So in my upbringing, it was okay to commit a crime, even though you knew it wasn't right. It was just considered a means to survive. Perhaps moving on to where I am now, I left the state of Pennsylvania and I left the state of Wisconsin, moved to Pennsylvania, where I have started my own business with my wife. It is a family business. I had vocational training while I was in prison, which helped me get to where I am at today. In talking with the fellow inmates while I was in prison and guards, their advice to me was if I didn't want to live this life path of being in and out of prison, that I needed to make some changes. The reason why I'm asking for a pardon from the board is I'm an electrician, and that's what our company does. We do fire alarm security, life safety items, and it prevents me from obtaining my master's electrician license in many states. The second reason why I'm asking for a business pardon for this is traveling to Canada for business and recreation. My wife and I traveled for her parents, with her parents for her birthday, and I did not plan on getting off the ship. I figured that if I stayed on the ship, I was not going to have a problem. I was removed from the ship and questioned by Canadian officials, which I had had to try to explain to them why I was even there. And they said that if I received a pardon, that I would be allowed back into Canada. And as far as work, in my wife's statement to you guys in her letter, she explains that my first job working with Dolphin Graphics, I went up there to work, and because the company had a working agreement, and I was detained up there. Why I went up there to go work, and I was allowed to go into the press room to complete the repairs, but then I was deported right afterwards. I'm also would like to obtain my captain's license. without a pardon, the license is difficult, if not impossible to obtain. The fourth reason why I'm seeking the pardon is I have 6 grandchildren, which I really do want to do things with them with school, and the schools do not allow me to participate in supervising events and going on trips with them with my felony conviction at this time. That is, I thank you for your time and the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you, Mr. England. We're going to turn it to the board for questions. Any questions? Judge Kremers.
Yeah, good morning, sir. So do I understand you got 3.5 years in prison for cashing or helping someone cash a $71.60 check?
That is correct. And please let me explain. In addition, my mindset at the time, I was always in trouble. I was in trouble with the police department probably since the age of 14. And I don't want to say that fortunately for me at that time, being sent to prison actually was a very good benefit to me. I think if I would have continued down the road and the judge at that time I consider it a favor that he did for me, I might have been dead in the streets today.
All right. And last question, do you believe you owe any restitution for any of your cases right now?
I paid back all my restitution to all the cases that I had. I didn't not pay anything back.
Okay. And sometimes these records are not correct. So please understand that I'm just telling you that the Department of Corrections records seem to suggest that you still owe about $700 in restitution, not related to the felony case, obviously, since that was $71.40, but restitution for other charges or other cases to Fleet Farm, Kmart, Shopko, and Century Foods. Do you know anything about that?
No, I did. I paid all the money back, and I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, it was a total of like $1,200 that I had paid back with my parole officer. So every paycheck, I would pay that back, and I was returning the money back to him. So I apologize. Not sure exactly where the disconnect might be with that one. I'm not saying that, oh, I know 100%. I don't know anybody anything, but at the time, that's about what I paid back.
And I'm not saying 100% that we're sure that you still owe the money.
No, that's fine.
We've had this situation before where sometimes the records are absolutely accurate. Sometimes they're not for one reason or another, but I just wanted to see what you knew about that. So thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Nielsen, you talk about this in your application, but I'm hoping you could just speak very briefly to it here. There was a restraining order against you from an ex-girlfriend that you disclosed from 1995. Could you just tell us a little bit about what happened there and what has changed since then?
That was a very bad time in my life where I didn't think about other people. I didn't think about the consequences for a lot of my actions until I finally grew up, and I made a lot of hard decisions and about changing my life, actually trying to make it better. I can't express how sorry I am and how much regret. At this time, we do talk. We have a son together. I've reconciled with her, and we're moving forward. Our relationship is actually really good right now. But I am married.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Well, thank you for your time today, Mr. Nielsen, and you can expect to hear from us in about a month or two, as I'm sure you've heard me tell others, and you're welcome to go about with the rest of your day. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, our last applicant for the morning session is Miss Gina Kluber, who I have seen on the Zoom. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to you. And it looks like maybe you're going by a different last name now. So if you'd prefer Voves, I can certainly refer to you as that.
It's Gina Volvis. I was recently
Volvis.
married in
Got it. Thank you.
So good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm requesting a pardon for 2 cases back in 2002, both which I was charged in 2003. Summed up, I went to a hotel party with a girlfriend, met 2 other girlfriends. I did not know the person who was having the party. However, nothing unusual happened that night. A couple weeks later, one of the girls that knew the lady that was having the party had presented us with a stolen checkbook. It was kind of decided amongst us that we were going to cash. One girl forged a couple checks or a few checks, and then the other 3 involved, including myself, we went ahead and cashed them. I myself cashed, I believe it was a total of 3 stolen checks, attempted a 4th. I turned myself in. I never once thought that this was something that we were going to get away with. It happened in a very small town. Everybody knows everybody. I was the first girl to go turn themselves in. I was very open, honest up front, going through the motions of everything. During that case, the 2 of the girls were sisters. They kind of went their own way. Everyone kind of had turned on each other. The other girl and I had somewhat remained friends. I was sitting, so for my first case, I was sentenced to restitution, community service, and 60 days in the county jail. I was sitting my time for that case, and I was served papers for the second case. Apparently what had happened was the other girl that I had remained friends with had stolen a checkbook from a lady that she babysat for. I was present when the checkbook was stolen, as in I was sitting in the car with her toddler while she ran in and grabbed a diaper bag that she had forgot. She was babysitting her daughter the day before. Apparently I'd forgotten the diaper bag. While she was in there, she had stolen the girl's checkbook. I had no knowledge of this ever. I was not present when checks were cashed. I did not have a child at the time. I was 18, roughly 19, I believe. She did have a son, a toddler. She did have a vehicle. I did not. I lived at home with my parents. When receipts were pulled, it showed diapers, it showed gas, it showed house necessities. Unfortunately, going through the motions and just getting out of a case and me not being upfront, I guess I'm not being upfront and honest as how they saw it, which I couldn't be because I was not aware of the second case. I was sitting my time. It just, being present, going through that, it just made it look as if I was just as guilty as she was. I was very defeated at the time. I had a public defender. I just wanted it all to be over. I never imagined that. I was well aware of what I did was very, very wrong. I apologized over and over. I just never imagined to this extent. I'm requesting the pardon. I would love to go to nursing school. I've recently been accepted into the pre-nursing program over at WWTC. I am recently married. I have an amazing husband. I have a beautiful daughter, 2 amazing stepsons. We own a home. I've stayed out of trouble. I'm just ready to fully put this behind me. I definitely have learned from my mistakes. I've stayed out of trouble. I work for Freighter in the Medical College of Wisconsin. I'm a credentialing and provider support specialist. So summed up, I actually investigate practitioners and I make sure they are who they say they are. And I've definitely not let this consume me. I just am ready to put it behind me and move forward with my dream of becoming a nurse.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Any questions from the board? All right, looks like none. Thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate you coming to speak with us. And as I'm sure you've heard me tell people, you can expect to hear in about a month or 2. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
All right, that is all of our applicants for the morning session. So the board will be moving into closed session to deliberate. We will be stopping the live stream and on the Zoom. We will meet in closed session and then have a short break. We will be back in open session at 1 p.m. today to hear from another set of applicants, and we'll be in open session from about 1 to 2:30 this afternoon. So those who are listening into the Zoom or applicants for that session, we will see you then. But at this time, the board will move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 sub 1A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning cases before the board, for the purpose of considering specific applications, and for the purposes of considering financial, medical, social, and personal histories of specific persons. May I have a motion to move to closed session? Judge Kremers, may I have a second?
Second.
Noble, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Hearing none, the board is now in. All right. We're just gonna give folks another couple seconds to connect to audio here. All right, I think we have most people in. So we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to the afternoon session of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board. My name is Mel Barnes. I'm Chief Legal Counsel to the Governor. I will introduce the other board members in just a second, but before I do that, I want to go through a couple of housekeeping things and what to expect with today's hearing. And before I launch into that, Taylor or Destiny, will you just let me know if the live stream is working?
It looks like for YouTube, it's just buffering. It's
All right.
not.
We'll give it another second.
Okay.
Okay. It's working on my end, Taylor. Or at least it's pulling up the video, and I see we've got Wisconsin Eye.
It's also working on my end too, YouTube.
Okay, great. So I will launch to our housekeeping, the first item of which is this hearing is being live streamed. We are in open session, so this is being carried on YouTube and on Wisconsin Eye. We will ask everyone who is appearing before the board to please mute yourselves and turn off your video until it is your turn to speak and present your application to the board. That just allows us to focus on who's ever speaking and maximize our Zoom space to the best of our abilities here. If you do run into any IT issues, if you're having trouble connecting to audio or video, someone from our staff will reach out to you and troubleshoot those issues. Don't worry, you won't lose your spot. We will just come back to you when your IT issues are resolved. So I will call folks up in the order listed in the agenda and the open meetings notice. Each person will have about 5 minutes total to tell the board their brief summary based on the questions that were sent to you in advance and to answer any questions that the board has for you. So as a reminder, the questions that you'll be addressing are providing us with a brief summary of the offenses, what happened, how your sentence went, and what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement and employment, and then wrapping up with a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. The board may or may not have questions about your application, but don't read anything too much into it one way or another. Sometimes everything is answered based on your application. So before I introduce the board members, it looks like Ms. Jordan has a question. Maybe not. Okay. Maybe she's trying to turn off her video and figured out how to do it. All right, so as I mentioned, I am Mel Barnes. I'm the governor's chief legal counsel. Other board members who are with us today are Chief Noble Ray, who served with the Madison Police Department for almost 28 years, including as chief of police from 2014 to 2013. Oh, sorry, we have a chat issue here. All right, Destiny or Taylor, I'm going to ask you to reach out to Michelle Rangel. Miss Jordan, I see you're back.
So I noticed you. Okay. So I'm noticing up under my name, it says Destiny as opposed to my name, and you are pronouncing my name, so I'm taking it that you guys see my name.
We do, yes.
Okay.
You show up okay on our end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Destiny and Taylor, I'll just have you one of you reach out to Michelle Rangel based on what she posted in the chat there. Okay, having my own tech issues. There we go. Introducing our board members. I will just wrap up with Noble's introduction. Noble Ray served with the Madison Police Department for almost 28 years, including as chief of police from 2004 to 2013. Chief Ray then led the U.S. Justice Department's policing practices and accountability initiative, and currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the nation and the world. Board member Cindy O'Donnell served as Deputy Secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a Division Administrator under Attorney General Lautenschlager and Attorney General Van Hollen. Board member Reverend John McVicker Sr. is the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee. He additionally serves as the board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. Judge Jeff Kremers is Attorney General Josh Call's nominee to this board. He served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, serving as chief judge for 7 of those years, and he retired in 2018. Reverend Jerry Hancock is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. Those are the board members with us today. So we will go ahead and move to hearing from our first applicant, who is Ms. Jordan. Ms. Jordan, I'm going to turn it over to you for that brief statement and for us to follow up with any questions.
Okay. So I was so busy trying to get on here and get this answer that I didn't hear, and I'm sorry that I didn't hear what I'm supposed to be stating at this moment.
Of course, I can give you a brief recap. We're just looking for 4 to 5 minutes from you, including our questions on a brief summary of your offense, the crimes that you're seeking a pardon for, how your sentence went, what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement and employment, and then finally a brief statement on why you're seeking a pardon and why the governor should grant you a pardon.
Okay, I think I have that. So, hello everyone. My name is Charlesetta Jordan. My offense was fraud due to drugs at the time. My marriage was falling apart of 27 years, and he had gotten involved into drugs, which led me to getting involved into drugs. And so after we separated, one day I'm home from work, feeling bad, feeling down because of my child and I are displaced at the moment. And I did some drugs, and it just so happened I was at a friend's house and I cashed some of her checks, which led me to this sentence as it was. Because we were co-workers, she forgave me for that because she knew what I was going through. I paid the fines that I had to pay. I did my time. I wasn't incarcerated, but over a weekend. I came home and I did my community service. At the time, I went into AODA treatment. Because I was a model citizen, I was allowed to have my own program to cheer for women on Thursdays so that they were allowed to vent from the offenses they went through. And a lot of it was sexual abuse at the time. So that was my offense. I did what I needed to do. If my probation officer was here, she would tell you I was just one of the model people. I did what I was supposed to do because, first of all, when I did this, I was not in myself. And so, not until over the last 5 or 6 years that I've even been able to talk with anyone about this because I was so ashamed of what I did because that was not me. And so, as a result of that, in the years since then, I've been a community organizer for 3 various communities. We've built two community centers, addressed the issues in the community itself. I've been on 3 boards within the last 6 years. I've just retired from the board at Lucia that I served on for 10 years because my vineyard was up. And so I'm still a community organizer. I'm very well known in the community, along with the people in the community. They love Miss Charlie. I'm auntie or mama to everyone. I have kids and great grandkids of my own that I have to set a role for. And presently also, I've just created my own business. Well, I created it in 2019, and then COVID hit 2 weeks later. This is a teen entrepreneurship business for African-American teens ages 14 to 18. I was just accepted into the SGA Accelerator Program. There were 100 spots. There were 100 applicants, only 20 spots. And I was able to get into one of those spots so that I can further progress and get this program launched on the ground. So that's basically what I've been doing in the last 10 years. And this was kind of my way of giving back to the community to say I was sorry for what I did. And if I look at it, it wasn't even my way of giving back because I was raised by a big mom. And she raised me with strong morals. So I'm just doing what I was born to do anyway and to be a leader. So that's my story. And that's what I've been doing to make up for whatever I did to society. The person that I offended, we're still friends. And that's where I'm at today. So I hope I address it. At the moment, I work as a skills coach for behavioral clients. They love me on my job, each and every one, even from staff to clients. So I've paved the way for others since I've did this. And I'm embarrassed to admit that I've done it. But these days now I can speak up for whatever I did because it was wrong. And I want to be able to help the next person to avoid whatever I went through. And so that's me in a nutshell. Did I miss anything?
Well, we'll turn it to the board to see if they have questions or things that they want to follow up on there. So board members, do you have questions for Ms. Jordan? Seeing none, I think that means that you did not miss anything. So well, thank you for your time today. Appreciate you taking time out of your afternoon to come speak with us. You can expect to hear from our office in about a month or 2 on the status of your application. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Okay, well, I thank you for my time. I thank you for being here and listening to what I had to share because my story helps the next person that I come in contact with. So I appreciate having this opportunity to explain my offenses. So thank you all and stay safe and have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. All right, our next applicant is Mr. Harold Coots, who I see is on the Zoom. Mr. Coots, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank Governor Tony Evers and the board for giving me the opportunity to come before you today concerning this matter. So briefly, I came from a broken home family. My father was an alcoholic. things of that nature. And pretty much anything can happen to a child that happened with me. I wanted to make a change in my life apart from the things that I knew growing up. I was going to school at Gateway Technical College in Kenosha to be a police officer of all things. And I got involved with a burglary and theft. How that came down was I was going to school full time and I was working full time third shift, and I started getting a little stressed. And these people I thought were my friends are like, hey, you know, you got to party this weekend, get some of the stress gone. And I was in my early 20s and, you know, not much direction in my life. And of course, everything sounds good when you're that age. And you're like, yeah, let's, you know, have a party. That turned out to be almost every single night. Shortly after that, I think at some point in that area, I started realizing that I was kind of on the wrong path as far as drinking because of the past history with my father. So one night, someone had a bright idea. I'm not sure who it was, if it was one of the two guys I was involved with at the time or myself. I really don't remember because we were drinking pretty heavily. And we ended up going to one of the other guys' houses. And next thing you know, we were in the backyard of somebody else's yard. It wasn't my friend's or acquaintance's yard. It was his neighbor. And we entered into the garage, and I remember bits and pieces of it because I was drinking heavily. Excuse me. I remember holding a pillowcase of all things, and meat was being put in a pillowcase, and I just went along with it. And the next morning I woke up and it just seemed like a dream to me. And I did some, you know, looking around in the house where I was staying with these people. And I actually noticed that it wasn't a dream. Everything was there that I remember bits and pieces of. And of course I went out to my truck, looked at my state status book, and, you know, lo and behold, I just created a felony. That didn't sit well with me, of course, but I'm panicking now. I don't know what to do, except try to keep my nose clean. I was thinking maybe this will blow by, you know, but I stayed away from it. The other two guys ended up actually going in doing other things as well, breaking into semi trucks, taking CB radios, going into residences, garages, whatever it may be, taking power tools, hunting equipment and gear. And one of the guys I was closer with, I'm not going to mention the names because that's their dealings. But I saw what he was doing and I tried to speak reason into his life. And so I tried to distance all these things away from this guy. Excuse me, as far as the things that were taken. So we put them out back and I was telling him, hey, we need a plan to get these back to these people or whatever. And it just can't be here. We can't do this. It needs to stop. You guys got to stop. And somehow the police got involved. And I'm thankful for that because the one guy tried saying that I was with the other guy doing all the other crimes, and that was not true. What I did was my responsibility, and I should own up to that. I went out to the officer that was up front of the house in the car while his partner was talking with the other guy who tried pinning everything on me. Well, I told him everything I did, and I showed him where the stuff was on the property so that can be taken care of. And I completely worked with the police department in the matter of this. So now I go to court, and of course, no money. I end up with a public defender, and I stood before a Judge Schrader in Kenosha. And again, that was a blessing to me because Judge Schrader had a reputation of not letting these things go. So I was kind of fearful, I'm not going to lie. But I just sat there and said to myself, it does not matter where I came from. It doesn't matter what I've been through. What matters is I need to stand up and do what's responsible. So after everything was read in the courts, Judge Rader asked me, is there anything that you would like to say? I stood up and I addressed the court, and I told Judge Rader that I was drinking, yes, like I just discussed with you. However, it was my responsibility not to get that drunk where I'd make stupid decisions. The decisions were made because I made those decisions and no one else. So I told Judge Rader that, well, those are the circumstances. And I stood before him in the, Kenosha, in the state of Wisconsin, to receive any judgment that is handed down to me. So I received that. During this entire time, I had a friend who kept telling me about the love of God. And so when I went before Judge Rader, at that point, I was now going to that church. And I explained to Judge Rader that I'm sure you've heard of this whole song and dance before, that I'm involved with the church, things like that. And I told him I truly am involved, and that's the facts. I still am involved in a church, not that one, but I've been at the one I'm at now for quite a long time. And one of my letters was actually written by my pastor of the church, which I'm a key holder to. And I have a credit card from the church. So whenever things get broken around the church that I need to fix, no questions asked, I just go purchase the things and get it done. My pastor is actually he was a police officer in LA County for quite some time when he was going to seminary, and he was actually a jail chaplain as well. So I was able to talk with him, of course, with my situation when I first started going there, and he's received me, and he's kind of mentored me in areas in life, becoming more mature, understanding responsibility, becoming the man that I ought to be for my family. Which brings me to the part of my family. I'm actually a proud father of 5 children. My oldest is a boy, and I have been blessed with 4 girls who are just as amazing as their mom. My wife has been a great help to me through the years, growing, keeping my head up when I apply for jobs that I know I'm completely qualified for, but get looked over. I know that by law, that's not supposed to happen, but I also know, and I understand, that these things happen, and they happen for a reason. People are looking out for their best interest. I get it. But every single job that I actually...
I don't want to cut you off, but I want to make sure that we stay on track to hear from everyone today. So if you wouldn't mind just wrapping it up briefly, and then I want to make sure that the board has a chance to ask you some questions, but feel free to say anything else that you think we should know.
Okay. Let's see. Basically, I paid the fines and restitution that was given to me, and I held dear to the situation. The reason why I want to get a pardon today is because I live in a community in Kenosha, and I've seen the things that have gone down in a few years ago with the riots with Kyle Rittenhouse and everything else. And I live in that neighborhood, and there's so many people, younger people, that have gone down the wrong path. And I want them to realize that just because they live in a certain area or they've done wrong things in their life, that does not mean that that's their title, that they can do so much better in their life. And I actually have a dream, an aspiration. I want to actually run for alderman in my district, to be a louder voice in my neighborhood. So that's pretty much it. And yes, any questions?
Excellent, thank you. Board members, questions for Mr. Coots? All right. Last call, hearing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Coots. We appreciate your time with us today. As I mentioned, you can expect to hear from us in about a month or 2 on the status of your application. If you do have any questions in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can go enjoy the rest of your day. You don't need to hang out on the Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
All right, our next applicant is Mr. Brian Bowles. Mr. Bowles, are you on the Zoom with us?
Yes, I am. It's probably under Crystal Fletcher, it says, maybe.
Yes, all right, but we know it's you.
Yep,
So
it's my daughter's computer here, so.
Got it. All right, well, we will turn it over to you, please.
Okay, my name is Brian Boyles. I've been in this situation, I guess, for quite a few years. It started out as strange as it sounds, I guess. How we got in trouble here was it was in the winter time and it just got done snowing. I jumped in my truck and I was going down a back road. We're going to get groceries and stuff here. But I met up with a guy on this back road that hardly anybody used. His car was running. He'd been in it for a while. And it was in the middle of the road, snowed in with it still running. I opened the door of the guy's car. He falls out of the car, basically almost exasperated from carbon monoxide poisoning, and I believe probably quite a bit of alcohol in him too at the time. But this was already at probably 9 o'clock in the morning that I'd seen him. Anyway, got him out. We got him going. I find out he lived down the road a few miles from us. He helped a farmer out from where we lived doing chores. He come in. We got an address. He stopped over a couple of times and met me. We, of course, at the time knew each other. I mean, shouldn't say know each other, but smoked marijuana, I should say. And then he come over, I don't know, like the third or fourth time, and he brought a Amish kid with him, a young Amish boy with him. So we were outside my car. I was working on my car at the time. We're smoking marijuana at the time, everything. Then they left. The next thing I know, probably about 2 weeks later, the police came over. They had a search warrant, told me they were looking for 5 pounds of weed, hash, synthetic uppers, and a bunch of other stuff at that time. What had happened, I find out, is the Amish kid got in trouble himself for not having a license, and there was quite a few other things that he did. So he turned me in saying I had all of this stuff. I honestly never had anything. I couldn't even afford at that time to even really buy anything. So when they came to the house, they searched the whole house. They found a couple of pieces of paraphernalia is all they found. And then they found the sawed-off shotgun. The shotgun was purchased. I purchased it from a couple of people I'd worked from, and it was a dilapidated gun, really. It was just, now I'm only maybe 20 some years old at the time, and whatever the case was. And I know I shouldn't have had the gun, but it really didn't even work. I just bought it for some stupid whim. So they found it. It was 3/8 of an inch under the barrel size. So I got a fine for the paraphernalia. And of course, I only had a public defender at the time. And then they gave me 30 days in jail and a felony for the shotgun, possession of the shotgun. And like I said, it was a dilapidated, I never fired it or anything. It was sitting in a closet, stashed away in the back of a closet, and that was about it. So probably, I mean, like I said, it never worked. From then on in my life, I've had several jobs. My wife and I moved down to Illinois. I worked several jobs down there until I got to working at Motorola down there. I was, in the meantime, I should say, back this up, I went to Lincoln Tech for automotive mechanics. So I got a tech degree in automotive mechanics and diesel mechanics, certified mechanic in air conditioning. I've been in for quite a few years. I don't have my certification anymore because, of course, I'm not in it. Worked at Motorola, got several different degrees down there. I got a award for developing a tool down there that saved on carpal tunnel for the flip phones back in the 90s. Remember the little flip phones that they had, everybody could open up and that's what they had. So we developed them, and I developed a tool to save on a carpal tunnel to install the phones in there. And then they gave me money for that and everything. Worked down there roughly about 5 years or so. Started up a pet store. My kids and everybody were all into pets. I used to go to a local pet store down there. There were an older couple. They went out of business. I bought everything. I moved back up to Abbotsford, which is right down the road from where we used to live. I started our pet store there. Been in the business 26 years, and in between time, I've donated, I don't know how much in money to carnivals or churches or any community events for goldfish or items that, we've had in the store that I've gave them. Still this year, it's been 28 years later, I'm still doing business, maybe making another couple of years and that'll be okay. At one time, I had two businesses. We had one in Abbotsford and Marshfield, where we're at now, and still going strong, pretty good there. Of course, economy's a little bad, but we're still hanging in there. I got a couple of rental units that we have. I purchased my grandparents' old place, so, and then I've still got that yet. So, I mean, as far as doing okay and well off after everything, I've been doing okay. Reason I kind of want to get out of the situation I'm in here now is because I've had people have asked me for quite a few years to be on either Chamber of Commerce or where I live out in Mosinee area. They want to know if I want to join the board or any other members or anything else, or I go do a lot of fishing and I talk to the DNR once in a while and ask if I could help out there or anything, but knowing the situation I'm in, I can't do that either or whatever. So I guess it's about time in my life to get out of this if I can and hopefully enjoy life a little bit more. That's about it, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Boyles. A question from the board. Cindy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Boyles. You talked about your offense in '84 when you were 23 with the marijuana and the short barreled shotgun, but you also had offenses in '93 as a felon in possession of a firearm, and in '95 when you had THC found in your home. Can you talk about those?
Sure. What it was is, well, it was me. I was stupid. When I lived in Illinois at the time, the gun, I was at a bar. This guy, he was in the bar with me. I didn't even know who he was, honestly. We got to drinking. He had a gun he wanted to sell. It was like $30, and I figured, well, it was kind of cheap. I don't even remember what the gun was anymore or anything. It might be on your notes or whatever, but I don't even remember what it was. I had it purchased. It was in my vehicle. I come up to Wisconsin to help my parents out farming at the time. So I was up here away from my wife and the kids for a couple of months. And that was before I even worked at Motorola there or whatever. And then I got stopped by the warden for fishing or whatever. And they searched my car and then they took the gun away. And I got a fine and reprimanded or whatever else for that there. As far as the THC, there again, I was in Abbotsford. We're at the store at the time, the pet store. It was late at night. I heard a bunch of banging on the back door. I go to look out the back door. There was a SWAT team out there in the back door trying to break in. Here I find out from that my son, of course, he was hanging around some undesirable people, we'll call him, kind of, I guess. He shouldn't have been. They turned me in again because for saying that I had a growing system and all this other stuff, and of course more weed, which I never did. I guess smoking pot, yeah, I'll admit to that, and I've done it. I don't do it anymore, but during those years I did. I wasn't out dealing. I wasn't out trying to push drugs or anything. I'd buy a little weed now and then, and that was about it. But of course, then this kid turned me in. They come in, they handcuffed everybody in the family. They looked around, did not find anything for drugs. All they found was a small little plant, and it was not even, well, they had a plant, but it was birdseed actually, because what I did, I put birdseed in the cage, and I'd put my reptiles in there, and it was just, you'd have to understand about that or whatever, but the animals would live in it. It was just, well, that's all they found there. And then I don't remember what else they found, something else, I guess, and that was about all. So,
And just to follow up on the fishing, when you were fishing and the DNR stopped you, you were fishing on a Wisconsin fishing license, representing that you were a resident when you were not?
well, yes and no. I've lived up in Wisconsin all my life. I moved to Illinois, I guess, and I guess I understand what you're saying there. And I just purchased a Wisconsin fishing license because I used to live in Wisconsin out there all my life and whatever. And I'd been up here for probably 2 weeks or more, and I was supposed to be up here probably another couple of weeks to help my parents out and get them going and everything on the farm. So, but yes, I lived in Illinois at the time and purchased a Wisconsin fishing license. And I guess I didn't know if that was, I suppose it's wrong, but
You suppose it's
time.
wrong. You,
Well, I know
when
it's
the,
wrong.
I mean, when the DNR stopped you, you said you got me. I mean, that's pretty clear admission. I'm just trying to figure out. Thank you.
No, that's what happened. I know I'm wrong here, missing there, so. But other than that, all throughout the years, I've been on the up and up and quit everything and been honest and paying my dues, I guess, to everything else there. And
All right, do other board members have questions for Mr. Boyles? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Boyles, you had a very supportive letter from Art Thexton, who used to be the DA in Taylor County. How do you know Art Thexton?
he was my neighbor at the time that all of this had went down. And I mean, like right across the road neighbor and everything else. And I guess, I mean, we were pretty good friends at the time, pretty much before all that happened. His kids used to play with our kids. I'd go over there and help them out, or, you know, whatever the case might be or whatever. So, and then of course he knew my wife's parents because they lived right down the road too, and they owned a farm and everything else. So.
And he ended up prosecuting you?
Yes.
Yeah. And then he writes this letter.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Kind of confusing on that one, isn't it?
Sort of, but I knew Art Thexton when he came to Madison. He worked in Madison for a long time too.
Okay. Yeah, he's a decent person. It's just, I guess at the time things had happened and whatever, so.
Do
Anything
other
else?
board members have questions? Seeing none, all right, thank you, Mr. Boyles. You are welcome to go about the rest of your day. You don't need to hang out on the Zoom, and you can expect to hear from our office in about 1 to 2 months about the status of your application. If you do have questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Okay. I appreciate the time you guys give me, and everybody have a good day, okay?
Thank you. All right, and Ms. Michelle Rangel is next up. I believe that we have sorted out our interpreter issue. So Ms. Rangel, if you are ready to proceed, we are ready to hear from you. Ms. Rangel, we may need you to unmute if the interpreter is joining you just by phone, because we don't have them in the Zoom. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you able to hear us?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're just going to ask you for a brief statement about your offenses, how your sentence went, what you've done since your conviction, and why you're seeking a pardon today.
Okay. Okay. Can I read the letter that I wrote?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and here is a little bit about my offense. In December 2010, I committed the filing as a misappropriated ID. I served my time that I was sentenced and complete formation without any issues. And I also managed to pay off my restitution. And I feel deeply regret by the decision that I have made in the past and push to move forward every day, not ever making that mistake again. Since I have complete my sentence, I have stayed out of trouble, maintaining a steady lifestyle. I have found love and remarried and have 3 more beautiful kids since my session as well. So I focus on making the best decision for the children I am currently raising now. I do some Instacart or DoorDash here and there to make extra dollars, and also take pride in dog sitting from time to time for friends and family when needed. I think I should receive this part because I truly made a mistake at the time. I never did anything like it before and was at a all-time low in my life. I learned from my mistakes and I never want to put someone in a position like that ever again. And I too never want to put myself in a situation like this ever again. I would like Amparo to clear my name of the felony so I can have a second chance at life.
Thank you, Ms. Ringel. I'm just going to see if we have any questions from board members for you. Do we have questions for Ms. Ringel?
No,
All
I have
right.
no question.
No questions from us. I think that means they were all answered in your application and in your comments today. So thank you for your time and thank you for your patience as we sorted out our issues with the interpreter. Really appreciate that. And you can expect to hear from our office in about 1 to 2 months on the status of your application. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out. Okay.
Okay.
And you do not need to hang out on the Zoom. You're free to go about enjoying the rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. I can hear now.
All right. And our next applicant is Ms. Lisa McKay. Is Ms. McKay in the Zoom? All right. I do not see Ms. McKay. We will go then to Cameron Beanie. There's
Yes, can everybody hear me?
We can. We will turn it over to you.
Okay, so my story began, I am originally from Central Illinois. I moved up here about 20 years ago. Kind of the same song you've heard before. I came up here and ran into bad people. Started drinking.
Your sound just cut out for a second, Mr. Beanie. Could you repeat that?
That better?
Yes.
Okay. So I moved up here about 20 years ago and fell into some bad people. And I got on drugs and alcohol and everything else. So apart from the felonies, which I'm trying to have removed, I have a pretty lengthy background made up of theft and the burglary, which I'm trying to get knocked off. One night we got really drunk, like bad. And someone had told us where they kept the money in this dry cleaner at night. So all I can really remember about that night was them telling me just to wait outside and watch for anybody coming, so that's what I did. Well, we ended up getting busted, and I went to jail for it. And then I still didn't quite learn my lesson after that because I picked up some more charges after there. And eventually, about 10 years ago, I got sentenced to state prison, which I went for the first time. I went to prison, everything went good in there, and then I earned my release. When I got out of prison, that's when everything changed. Everything. The first week I got out, I got a job at Jimmy John's, just making sandwiches, something to do to keep me out of trouble. Well, eventually I ended up staying there for about 5 years. I became the general manager there, here in Wausau. And I then further wanted to go further in life, so I went to North Central Tech College for welding. I did that, completed those, and then I got a welding job that I've been out for 3 years now. I am currently going back to NTC for my second year welding and some other courses that I wanted to get into. I currently, well, I'm divorced now, but when I got out of prison, I have 3 kids. They are 7, 5, and 4. And after my divorce, I was awarded primary placement. I have them 90% of the time. And they are my rock. They are my stone. They're the one, well, not just them, but for me. They're in my care pretty much 24/7. They're in daycare while I work full time. They get dropped off in the morning, then I pick them up when I'm done, day in and out. And since my release, as far as community involvement goes, one of my neighbors ended up being a pastor at a church here. I got involved with his church because they help families that are needy for furniture and stuff. So I would go and help move stuff around for them, load stuff off trucks and do all that with them. And as far as wanting a pardon, so the higher I climb in my field, so I just accepted a new job offer, making more money, benefits, better all around. But in order to keep climbing up to get the more technical jobs, that's where the felonies start to come. And it's making it harder. The reason why I think I deserve a pardon is because since my release from prison, it's been all forward for me. I got out, had a job, had my kids, I went to school, I'm going back to school, and that's all I do. There isn't a thing in this world that I wouldn't do to take me away from them.
Thank you, Mr. Beanie. I have a good question for you before I turn it over to the board, which is, you mentioned in your application that you completed AODA while you were incarcerated. And I heard you talk about how in this bad time in your life, when you committed these offenses, you were drinking heavily. Are you sober today?
Yes, I haven't. I don't drink or do drugs, or I don't have time for any of that.
It sounds like
Well, not just that I don't have the time. I just, that's just not me anymore.
Yeah, I understand what you meant. It sounds
Yeah.
like your friends keep you pretty busy. Do we have other questions for Mr. Beanie from other board members? Cindy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Beanie. As part of the application, it's not required, but it's recommended that you submit letters of support for your application, and you did not submit any. Can you tell us why not?
So I did have my mom write one up, and I had my original application ready to go. But then maybe a month later, I completely redid my application because I had some change update with school and work and all that. So I updated that, and then I forgot to put the letter in with that application and not the other. I contacted probation and parole about writing me a letter of recommendation. They said it has to go off of the last PO that I had, but the last PO that I had for maybe a month before I was discharged off of probation. I think I actually saw him one time to sign my discharge paperwork because they switched agents right there at the end.
And that person didn't probably know a lot about you or. how
No,
you
nothing. It
work.
was just a hello kind of thing. And I mean, while I was on probation, I didn't have any infractions, no failed drug tests, no violations. It was smooth.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Beanie? None. All right. I think that means you answered most of them in your application and your statement. So thank you for that, Mr. Beanie. You can expect to hear from the office in about a month or two on the status of your application, and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You guys too.
Thanks. All right. I think we did get Ms. Lisa McKay to join us by phone. Ms. McKay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
There we go. Perfect. We're ready to hear from you. So please go ahead.
It's my turn.
Yep. We'll just ask you for a brief statement, like you've heard others give, and then we'll ask you some questions if we have them.
Oh, okay. I'm Lisa McKay, and I'm asking for a pardon for my crime that I had committed back in 2010. And I just wanted to apologize again for the crime, and have did some thinking. And even though I wasn't too knowledgeable of real estate, I didn't recuse myself from making the mistakes that I did. And I have since then gotten a better understanding of my crime and why I was charged with what I was charged with. And I did some research and talked to people to get a better understanding, and I understand more now. It have not made me stop learning about real estate, just in case I want to buy a house or anything like that. I'm not interested in real estate as far as being an agent, what is that, a title agent or anything like that. But since then, I have gotten a double degree at MATC as a chef. I've been running for the last, since then, I think it's been 8 years, I've been running my own catering company. I am a well-known executive chef and owner of Lisa K Catering. I have employed over 15 employees, have taught classes for our youth. I'm well-known in the community. I have started a nonprofit organization for youth, which is the Culinary Education Program, which within the next several months, I will be turning that into an academy, which would be called the Culinary Education Academy for Youth, to pursue their dreams as a chef, get more training. I have trained every year for the last 6 years. I have been training youth, 80 in the summer, and then in the spring, winter, fall, we have about 25, 30 students that I train in culinary arts. I'm a part of the American Culinary Federation, Chefs of Milwaukee, and we're there. I'm a director of the Chef and Child Foundation, which we focus on healthy eating and cooking and fight against childhood obesity. I have many accomplishments since then from different companies. I've been featured in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, been published in the Marquise Who's Who, and have received the Black Excellence Award in Milwaukee, and have just received an award yesterday for being a pillar in the Milwaukee area. And I'm not, I want to say I am not a criminal. I have not ever been a criminal. And I just apologize that I had to learn the hard way. But I've learned the lesson, and I have always, anything I have gotten into, I have always went to school for. And that's one of the things that I did not go to school for is real estate, and just did what I thought was best and was doing it incorrectly. Trying to follow other companies that was doing it, and just got caught up, and I did, I think, 3.5, 4 months or something in the Huber law. And while I was there, I went to culinary school and got my degree, and had been working and just been doing this ever since. And I do ask that I am pardoned so that I can continue to move forward to do what I want to do in a positive way for our community, as for our children. And I would appreciate anything that our governor and our advisory board can do to pardon me on that for my past crime.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Questions from board members? Judge Kremers.
So, good afternoon, Ms. McKay. So you said just a minute ago that you weren't a criminal, that you were never a criminal. So I want to talk about the felony conviction that you got, and tell me, I got a couple of questions about it, but basically, as I understand the scheme to defraud the banks, what you and your husband did was to, if the house was going to actually sell for $100,000, you would tell the bank that the sale price was $110,000. So they would loan $110,000, but actually only $100,000 would go to the seller because that's what they agreed to sell the house for. And you and your husband would pocket the other $10,000, and you would doctor up the settlement documents to make it look that way. Is that about right?
I was not the broker. I was the title agent, and all the paperwork that was received that went to the bank, it came from the broker. It didn't come from our title company. The bank gave us the information. Yes, we loaned the money to our buyers that was going to purchase the house, and they gave us either the 5 or 10% that was due to us. I was overcutting the checks. I never cut any checks that wasn't due to us. I only got what we had stated in our as an agreement. The word on the HUD.
Sorry.
Is that the one you're talking about? The HUD that had it doctored up or something like that.
Who were you stealing money from?
Who did I steal money from?
Yeah, the scheme that you and your husband had, where was the money coming from that you pocketed?
I didn't steal any money. The money that we used our funds to loan the money, and we got 10% back, which we weren't supposed to loan the money. When we indicated that the bank, it would have been from the bank.
Okay, so the money that you got that you weren't
it
supposed
would have been from the bank.
the money that you got that you weren't supposed to get was coming from the bank, right?
Yes.
Okay.
For the buyer. Yeah.
Okay, so you know that you were getting money you weren't supposed to get.
I do after I had gotten it because I did more research, but when I was doing it, no, I did not know.
Okay. Who came up with
Because
this?
we had always had them sign indicating that because if we loaned them money, they indicated they were going to give us back our money plus 10%. But we weren't supposed to get that money because the bank thought that they were selling the property for one amount, and we put a different amount.
Right.
Because they could have sold the house. The bank could have sold the house for more if it would have went into foreclosure.
Who came up with this scheme, you or your husband?
Neither one of us. We were doing what another customer of mine was doing. And so I decided to do it. I asked him for the money because we weren't married yet. I asked him to loan money to one of my customers because I knew another one of my customers was doing the same thing, and we started doing it. I did call the state and ask about that when we were loaning the money. I think I did call the state and I did talk to them about us doing that, and they did say it wasn't a crime, but they said it's not a crime, but it's not legal, have not been legalized yet. And she told, her name was Lisa. I remember that because my name is Lisa. And she indicated that I know what you're talking about because another company is doing it. And I told her yes. And I told her the company's name. And we kept doing it. She had said maybe call back within 3 to 6 months. And I didn't call back because I was trying to get, see if there was a license that we had to have. And she said there was no license for such thing. That was loaning the money part. That's what I'm talking about. And I never called back to check to see what was going on with that. And we just kept doing it, kept loaning the money. The illegal part was I was a closing agent as well, and the HUD had to add up to what the banks wanted to see. And the bank, if the bank thinks looking at that they were selling the property for one amount, but they were selling it for a different amount. And I okayed that.
So does that mean you had to change the HUD statements to make it match?
No, I never changed the HUD statement. I just kept it as that.
Kept it as what?
Whatever however it had to be listed in order for it to close.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Other questions from board members for Ms. McKay? All right, hearing none. Oh, sorry, Reverend Hancock.
Ms. McKay, did you sometimes sign documents for buyers or sellers?
I have never did any of that. Never. One lady that was involved who got an immunity, she started a company in my name and she was signing stuff on my behalf. And but I never took money under the table, and I never signed anybody's name ever. And I never taken any money that really, I mean, it was due to me because the buyer indicated that, or the seller would say that they were going to give it back, but that wasn't even supposed to happen anyway. So that was a crime. But I did get the permission to take what they said they were going to give me, but I never took any extra money or anything like that, and I never signed anybody's name to anything.
Did you sometimes file a second mortgage on a property?
Did I do? Pardon me?
File a second mortgage on a property.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that means.
Well,
buy or say it?
Yeah. Let me ask you this. If you say that you were never a criminal, but you pled guilty to a 26-page criminal complaint.
Correct.
You pled guilty to that. So how can you say that you're not a criminal?
Well, I apologize. I did do a criminal activity because how I was doing my HUD was criminal, and I did learn that later. But in the beginning, I did not know that it was criminal. I pled guilty because I was really still ignorant and not, to real estate. I felt I didn't get no help from my attorney, And so I was tired of going back and forth to court because we were going back and back and back, and it was the same thing over and over and over. So I just pled guilty. I didn't know anything about doing a pardon or anything like that. It's not like I said, I'm gonna plead guilty and do a pardon later. I never even thought about a pardon. My mind don't operate like that. I pled guilty because I was tired of going back and forth to court. I was tired of fighting, and it was over. It was like a year long, and I was tired. Yes, I did wrong with my HUD, but as I can promise you that I never taken a cent more than what the buyer or the seller said that we was going to get. But I agree that I should not have had the HUD and made the bank think that the property was going to sell for one thing and it didn't, and it sold for another. And that was the crime. That was the crime.
Well, since that time, your accomplishments are very impressive. So congratulations about your culinary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. McKay. I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. You can expect to hear from the office in about a month or two on the status of your application, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
And our last applicant of the afternoon is Mr. Michael Allen, who I see in the Zoom. Mr. Allen.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
All right, I'm going to start off with, I'm also reading from my computer, just so you know, that's why I'm not looking at the camera.
Absolutely.
I had written this up earlier. I'd like to start off with thanking everyone for giving me this opportunity to have this meeting with the Pardon Advisory Board. Back in 1997, I was 20 years old. My mom had left. I was not working at the time. I was making attempts to find employment to support myself and find a place to live when my mom had left and moved out of state. I was going through a hard time, made the decision that stealing was my only option at the time. I know what I was doing wrong, but at that point, I didn't. Didn't have anyone to help me out with a place to live and food. I continued to look for a job in an apartment where I was bouncing from couch to couch. I feel terrible for what I did. I was charged with a felony burglary and misdemeanor theft. I was sentenced to 1 year Huber, work release, and 5 years probation that I was released from in 2003 and paid in full restitution. I fulfilled all my obligations for Huber, probation, and restitution without issue. I know that the victims went through a lot by my actions. I feel terrible, and I do think about my actions from years ago from time to time. I've worked hard to change who I am as a person and make strides to make sure I never find myself in that type of a position again. Since my conviction, I have held steady employment and obtained my CDL, where I am over-the-road truck driver. I've been with the same company since 2011. I also occasionally volunteer for Lake County Honor Flight from time to time when they ask for escort services. I'm looking for a pardon for advancement within my current employer. I'm also interested in obtaining additional certifications as a truck driver. And I will leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. We'll see if board members have questions for you. Board members, any questions? None? All right. Looks like your application and your comments answered everything we need to know about. So thank you very much, Mr. Allen. As I'm sure you've heard me say, you can expect to hear from someone in the office in 1 to 2 months about the status of your application. And we thank you for your time today.
All right, thank you everyone too.
Thank you. All right, so that is our last applicant for the afternoon session. So at this point, we will go ahead and move into closed session for deliberations. So may I please have a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub A, D, and F for the purposes of deliberations concerning cases before the board, for the purposes of considering specific applications, and for the purposes of considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Judge Carmson moves. May I have a second? Reverend McVicker seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we will then move into closed session. You'll just give me a moment to stop the live streaming.